welcome to episode 111 of Between Nerds. I'm Aldo Mendes, Julius, Mr. Christopher James, CJ, you all know him and love him. We are here to talk about Ranking Kings. Ranking of Kings.
Ranking of Kings.
Yeah.
Hey,
First.
hey at YouTube Shorts. Please tell G Fuel that we need a sponsorship ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
And at the beginning of this episode, I do want to go over a couple of housekeeping notes. For the month of September, please leave a 5-star written review on Apple Podcasts or leave us a positive review on any podcast platform to include Spotify, Pandora, whatever. And if you email us at betweennerdspodcast@gmail.com, letting us know that 5-star written review was you, then you will be entered into our September giveaway, into our monthly giveaway. And we'll get you some cool hand-picked nerd stuff.
Yeah. We usually give a lot of cool stuff. We try to see who our subscribers are and stuff. So if we see any clues to any cool anime stuff that you guys like, we'll definitely tailor your.
Most people have like their
giveaway.
Profile picture caters to whatever like anime character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll get you whatever your anime avi is, or and probably an easier way to enter the monthly giveaway is to be a subscriber on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And if your subscriptions are made public and you leave a comment on a video during the month of September, then you will also be entered into our monthly giveaway.
Yeah, and you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Between Nerds, Twitter as well. I want to make a link tree and maybe put it up all around our
Smart.
our stuff because
Sounds good to me.
but yeah, we'll make a link tree for y'all.
I think I changed most of them like 3 weeks ago to the YouTube link.
You what?
Like the link on all of them
Uh-huh.
is to the YouTube.
Oh,
currently.
okay. Cool,
Well,
cool.
which isn't that bad. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah. And today we're here to talk about Ranking of Kings. We have CJ on because earlier in the year, I want to say 6 months ago or so already, maybe like April, May time, we had you on, and you've been in like maybe a quarter of our episodes so far this year, I want to say. So you were very adamant in like April, May, whenever it was, talking about Ranking of Kings. And it was already like coming to the tail end of its season because it ended in May, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, because I think episode like 21 was like in February or something like that.
Yeah,
so around that time, yeah, it was.
It is a 24 episode, right?
23.
23
Jordan.
episodes. It's man, I can't. When was the last time we saw 20?
20-something episodes Digimon.
Digimon? Yeah,
Yes, we watched exactly 24 episodes of Digimon.
That felt like 48 episodes.
Yeah, it
of
did,
Digimon.
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because like I think I've probably finished all 23 episodes in like 48 hours. Like literally like Tuesday of last week. Like today's the September 26th. I must have finished on the 19th. And I had like all week to watch it. But like once I started it, I just
couldn't stop.
I couldn't stop.
That's
Man,
exactly how I was.
ranking of Kings, it's weird, man. Being with Studio 2, I mean, the animation, it's just for itself because that's how the manga is, at least. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I couldn't see Ranking of Kings being done any other way.
Yes, it looks like really kiddish almost, but then like that juxtaposes like a lot of the mature, like kind of really darker themes like near the end of the season.
Like Ghibli, like old school Ghibli probably, but
That's
not
what I was
as
gonna say.
much production, not as much.
It kind of looks like a grainier Ponyo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the kids look like kids. They look like little creatures.
Little
little-
creature. Which makes the beginning extra sad because how adorable this guy is.
Oh, I know. I instantly fell in love with
Mr.
Boji.
CJ.
What's up?
What is Ranking of Kings?
To me, I think the message that it's trying to send is like, don't judge a book by its cover type story. You know what I
Okay.
mean? Like a type of ordeal. Because we're introduced to this kid, Boji, who, the way they show him, he's, I believe, deaf and mute, unable to speak, unable to hear. So already he's at a handicap. But you see that he's part of the royal family, so you know he's a prince coming up. So you wonder, how is a kid that's that you see that's kind of handicapped right from the start, how is this kid gonna become into this Ranking of King like journey that he's in? That's why I like the story is by the end, no spoilers yet, but by the end of it you realize like, oh wow, like really don't judge a book by its cover because anything can happen with, I guess, potential and determination. You know, that's what I got out of Ranking of Kings.
Yeah. It is all those things that you said. To me, it was more of don't doubt yourself either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, push yourself. You know, it's becoming your own man almost.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I think it's the hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's I like CJ's point about like it's not about doubting yourself, because like it sounds really corny. Like we're talking about an anime that's about like a little kid. Like he's how old is he? He's
I
like
think he's like
7, 8,
not.
or his
I
brother's
wanna-
like 7, 8, and he's
no,
like 10.
I want to say he's like maybe 13 or 14. I could be wrong. I
Oh,
could
is
be
he?
wrong. I think he's like I think he's a little, like maybe 13 or 14.
Yeah,
I could
but-
be wrong about that.
The animation itself makes it seem like this guy is a baby.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
know?
considering that he's got giant blood inside of him.
Yes, but you don't know that. Like the audience doesn't know that. Like at the beginning,
Oh, that's right.
because at the beginning, like I didn't even take. Maybe it was just me that I didn't kind of pay attention as much as I should. But when I saw the Kick Ross, right, or Boss,
Boss. Mhm.
King Boss,
That's a sick ass name.
King Boss was like super big. I thought he was just like a super strong dude. You know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
like that aspect or concept of the world itself, which I really want. Good thing you reminded me. I love how they introduces you into the world as well as you're
Mhm.
watching this story about Boji being like harassed by the townspeople.
Well, it is kind of a fantasy story, right?
Mhm.
So it's like middle ages setting, and we've been getting a lot of like period pieces like this lately. We discussed it like 2-3 weeks ago, but like anybody in any type of handicap, like I watched House of the Dragon, like I've read all of the A Song of Ice and Fire books. Like you have any kind of disability, you're probably not going to make it, like in life in general, and especially in like the George R.R. Martin books, like it's a big part of like the only reason you see like lame people in middle-aged society was because they're part of royal families. Like if you have the money to support that kid, you can. And that's kind of what reminded me about Boji's condition, because like early in episode 1, he's deaf and he's mute, and he's just like he seems simple to people that don't understand his condition, like to uneducated like peasants and farmers and stuff like that. And these are people that like can't support their own people when they're like this. There was an example of like a blind guy later on. It's just like, how did he live that long?
I wouldn't want to live that long.
Right. And
If
for
you were blind?
Well, no, that's what the brother says. What was the brother's name?
Daida.
Daida. Yeah.
But and then it makes me feel for Boji's condition, because like you kind of see where the villagers are coming from, where it's just like it's a fiefdom that is being protected by their king, who's a giant, who's Boji's dad. So they're actively worried about the line of succession, because it's like, can that little like weird kid protect us if people were to invade? And so like the way it comes off is really mean, because they're pestering him, they're calling him dumb, and they're calling him simple, and like using much worse language than as I'm describing it right now.
Yeah.
That was putting it lightly.
And
Like,
all
he's a damn
Boji
idiot.
really,
It's like, why are you listening to him? He's a damn idiot. It's like, let him go. He's just freaking out.
and all Boji wanted was a friend, really.
Yeah.
Like it starts out with Boji making a friend
Well, with being robbed.
by a future friend.
By a future friend.
By a future friend.
Yes.
It's usually how it goes.
But
Yeah, that's what I was
start
gonna
off
say.
on weird off-foot terms, and then next thing you know, it's like, hey, we should be friends now.
Aldo robbed me.
And now we're friends.
you robbed yourself, bro.
You see him gaslighting me?
He's like, no, you robbed me.
But yeah, it's ridiculous. And also, what I wanted to touch down. Did you guys ever watch that movie, The Man with the Iron Mask?
No, I
Wait,
don't.
Leonardo DiCaprio? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever watch it?
I have it on VHS.
So
I don't
it's
watch
a-
TV.
So it's a Three Musketeer-esque kind of story, and I don't know. It
Happy Hispanic Heritage Month.
was cool.
Oh, it's this one. Oh, the Independence.
Three Musketeers. That's by a French guy.
Nice, yeah, nice. Hey, but
I was just saying.
Alexandre Dumas, which is Dumas is one of the characters' name
See,
in here.
Sounds like he's not an advocate for Spanish
I
heritage.
can't hear ethnicity. Sorry, Aldo.
Oh.
I would have never known.
But yeah, French black man.
Oh, that's tight.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah.
But yeah, it just reminded me of that story, which got me like
This did.
engaged really quick. Yeah,
Ranking of
Ranking
Kings did. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it gave me like this super vibe of like the main four is maybe not the Three Musketeers, but like the main four
No, I get
have
you.
like an arcing situation within the anime.
May-
It's crazy.
Maybe it's because it reminded me of like Don Quixote or something like that.
Okay.
You get what I mean? Like,
The book?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like lone man on a journey, but he's crazy, and there's magical things that probably don't actually exist.
Yeah,
and...
no, not Don Quixote. Yeah,
So like, I like Ranking of Kings a lot. Like I feel like I'm making fun of it a lot just because of I don't know. It's after work on a Monday and I'm just delusional. But like, what Ranking of Kings does really well that I hate, that I actively like despise while watching it, is that every episode makes you want to cry. Like, I don't know what I was on last week, like what was up with me, like emotionally, but like I felt like my psyche almost couldn't make it through 23 episodes. It's so mean. They're so mean to this poor little deaf kid, and they beat him up, and they call him names, and they abuse him both physically and mentally and emotionally. And all he wants is to make friends and have his stepmom love him, have his half brother love him. He wants his dad to live, and none of these things happen.
he doesn't even want to be king because he doesn't want his dad to die. Crazy.
It's terrible.
His mom is dead. They remind her of her mom. The mom died. It's crazy.
The mom was murdered.
Murder. Big murder.
Murdered.
Big murder. Because she's a giant, as CJ said.
And like what it does really well is that like because it has this like real classic fantasy kind of feel, like with the art style, with the storytelling in the beginning,
the music.
It seems very like colored pencil fantasy, like G-rated D&D session. You know what I mean? Like for a little while. But with the characters, at least, it kind of flips a lot of tropes on their head. So like at first it's totally like, okay, here's the evil stepmother, but then like she's like the coolest like woman ever later on, and it's just like, here's the evil half brother that wants to be king, and he's just being like manipulated by like 4 different people.
Yeah.
and then it's just like, oh, here's the evil snake master that's also one of the knights. He's the best dude.
Yeah, he's like the coolest guy.
Oh shit, big snake with 3 heads.
What's our
friend.
timestamp?
Huh?
What's our timestamp?
Our timestamp is
Wow.
12
Yeah, 12
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
We were trying not to curse until we got to minute 10.
Yeah. 12 minutes. So
We-
fuck everybody.
We did it. Anyways, yeah, like there's a giant like 20-foot tall snake that lives underground underneath the castle.
It's a 3-legged. It's a 3-headed serpent, but like one of them's like cut off. The other one's blind.
It's King Ghidorah as a snake.
Basilisk? Isn't that
Isn't it
isn't
like it's because I think about the basilisk from Harry Potter,
That's
and
what
it
I
only
was
had one
thinking.
head.
Well, I don't fucking know. I don't know. I thought it was. I was
Whatever it was.
basilisk
There's like a
because it's
really
big-
nice
yeah.
like snake that lives underground and helps Boji.
That Boji helped first because he was getting like attacked and stuff.
And so they saved it and rescued.
There's
it.
a whole species
It makes
of
you
like
sad for a
assassin people.
Yes, the shadow
Shadow
species.
Clan.
Yeah, the
The
shadow
Shadow
clan.
Which sounds like an evil name, but they're actually persecuted and were like gentrified. No,
Yeah.
gentrified's the wrong word.
No,
they were
it was just discriminated against.
was like a
worse
genocide,
than that.
wasn't it?
Genocide. Thank you. They were like
they were.
they were part of a
Yeah,
genocide.
because
They
wasn't
were-
he?
You
Yeah,
know what it
wasn't he like
reminds-
the last one?
The last one?
Kagi.
Kagi- was he the la- Kagi
He
was the last
He's
one?
the very last
Yeah,
one.
I
Oh
believe so.
damn! No, I didn't catch that.
I believe so.
It reminds me of that species of Mushoku Sensei.
Yeah.
You know the guy that they thought he was evil and ate kids and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
The same thing.
Well, this one reminded me of like the Holocaust almost. Like it
Oh,
could
with, like-
because the way that the Shadow Clans like killed is they are like actively used for like as military weapons, but then once they like cease their usefulness, it's also like the Uchiha. And, like,
Oh yeah.
in
yeah,
Naruto, it's like once they cease their usefulness, they're now the biggest threat to the kingdom.
Yeah.
So you have to kill them and just commit mass genocide, even like killing women and children.
Which is bad, by the way. Message.
His biggest like assistance in the whole anime is like the king of the underworld and his brother. Like this is what I mean about it keeps flipping themes, and like maybe I'm dumb, but I keep like being sucked into Ranking of Kings, and then every time they just like flip like established themes again, I'm just like, why did I fall for it again? Like I knew that wasn't gonna be that way. They're like, yes, he's the evil king of the underworld, and he's super scary and mean, and he's just like stupid looking, and
He
he's
reminds
just
me
like
of what's his name? Moria.
yeah, he reminds me of Gecko Moria from One
Like a
Piece.
little goofy, dark, evil vampire.
And they're not
guy.
bad guys.
No, they're just like
nobody-
chill dudes. Yeah.
Nobody's a bad guy except for like nobody. I don't think there's any real villain.
No, everybody really gets like kind of redeemed.
Yeah, because so
Maybe the demon.
So
But that's about it.
we were following Boji being harassed by the townspeople, being bullied every fucking day. One day he's like just lurking in the fucking outskirts of the kingdom.
He's like,
And-
He's just
loose.
really
Yeah,
cursing
he's
now,
ripping,
ain't he?
yeah, he's
He's
ripping.
really cursing.
He starts walking like on the countryside in the fields,
Yeah.
and then he finds Kage, which is the Shadow Clan individual.
Which he has an
Blob.
ugly ass character design. I like at first I hated
Yeah, it was
Kage's
so
design.
goofy.
He's a blob that
Wait.
looks like two boobs,
he
and
looks
then
like
he's
a Pokemon.
with the little.
yeah, like
Yeah,
a
it looks
little
like the
Pokemon.
pre-stage of an evolution, like the first stage of a Pokemon. Yeah,
It looks like Quagsire a little bit. Like it's
Yeah.
just like a squished little two sets of eyeballs
to me
with like
it
a
looks,
claw mouth.
to me it looks like an unknown that never really like
Developed
formed a shape. Yeah, it's just kind of like whatever the fuck it. You know what I mean?
the premium unknown.
Yeah, it was trying to become an F and it just like gave up halfway through. Dude, it just stopped. I was like, oh, what the hell is that?
And yeah, he's the first one that like he meets outside in this countryside, and he robs them for all his clothes. Because Boji, like being such a good dude, is like he asks for clothes. He's like, oh yeah, you can have my
Basically gazes
clothes.
him, yeah.
Yeah, and he walks into town. He's getting harassed. He's coming back, and I think it's like episode 3. Kage is seeing Boji practice with his swordman Damu, with his swordman
Domas, I believe.
Duma.
I think it's supposed to be like Thomas, whatever.
In the English dub, they pronounce it Domas.
Dumas.
Yeah. It sounds like the whole time, bro. I was like a fucking dumbass.
But he sees Boji get beaten because his instructor told him not to lose to his younger brother, who is a more formidable king to the heir to the king, but Boji's older.
Yeah.
And we see, like I said, this flips when we see his life growing up. His mother died. He was separated from his mother. He got caught up with some dude that just like
Oh, you're talking about Kage?
worked him for money and giving him scraps of food.
Oh yeah,
And the whole thing is really sad because it's like this whole codependency. Even Kage was getting treated like shit. There's some nights that he grabs into his finger when they go to sleep.
What's that called? Stockholm syndrome, isn't it? Isn't that what kind of like,
Well,
you're a
Kage,
captor?
Kage was also like 4 years old.
Yeah, he was like a
Like
child, right?
he was running from this kingdom that that the Shadow Clan had lived in, and he was watching like the slaughter of his people like in the street. And the thing about it is when they kill the Shadow Clan people, all they have is just the X's over the eyes,
and it's still
and they
like a flappy thing.
yeah, and they
they
look
just,
like
like-
a little cloth, and it's so evil because these are people with lives, and like all the mom wants, even though she's a masterclass Shadow Clan assassin, is for little Kage, like her toddler, to get away.
Mhm.
So the only
sad,
reason
man.
that Kage didn't get murdered in the same field that his mom had just got murdered in is because some noble family was crossing like the King's Road, like between
Oh,
kingdoms,
that's right.
and he hid inside of her stuffed animal. So
Mhm.
he watched his mother die while inside of a little girl's stuffed animal.
And doesn't she pull like like an MVP move because he's obviously
She lied.
crying about he's obviously crying about the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so she starts crying to cover up his cry. I was like, yo, this girl.
Well, that's
I
why
like
it
her
reminded
already.
me of like the Holocaust a little bit, like people that were having to hide other people, but you couldn't
Mhm.
tell the
You couldn't
authorities
tell
that you were
it, yeah.
helping them. And then like there were lots of subsects of Europe that were controlled by the Germans that had like people that were keeping their Jewish identity on the wraps, but then like people would abuse them if they knew their secret as like leverage against them and
Against
as
them.
blackmail, which is exactly what Aldo was describing with Kage. Like a full blown like drunk, like in the next town over, like just starts giving Kage scraps once he
Mhm.
realizes that he's a sneaky little dude and he's part of the Shadow Clan, and starts like abusing his physiology of a child,
Mhm.
raises him just to like steal jewelry and gold and
For petty theft, yeah.
yeah, just for petty theft, just so this dude can just get hammered at the bar and
At
just
the
like
bars, yeah.
and just beat up Kage once he got home all drunk. And like he'd pass out on his desk, and Kage, still being a child, would just like hold his finger because he just wanted comfort. And like this is what I mean. Like every episode is so,
it's so
sad.
If you're sensitive to these
It's-
fucking things, don't watch, bro. Just
Yeah.
go somewhere else.
I'm not
Fucking
gonna lie.
Every
lie there.
episode is like that.
Literally, episode 2, I was already like,
But
oh my god, I feel the tears coming,
it
man.
serves it to you in like a span of 4 minutes.
Mhm.
Of 4 minutes, it's just like bam, 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 like
Right on your
sad,
heart, on
sad,
your
sad,
feels,
sad,
yeah.
sad, and then they dial it back because they come back from whatever flashback they were having,
Mhm.
and he almost tries to save Baji from being beaten up, and dude, he got beat up tough. tough, like legs broken, concussion, arms broken, both legs and arm broken.
But it's sad because you see Boji
crazy.
doing all those dodges, and you're just like,
Yeah.
the first time seeing him dodge, I was like, yo, whoa, wait
Yeah.
a minute. And then they're like, is that kind of like a fluke? And he's able to, he was quick, he was nimble on his feet. And that's when, how Aldo was saying, that's when Domas steps in and he's like, yo, that's not how a king fights. A king like fights head on.
Well,
I think he was giving him
this is
bad
this is
advice.
again when you start like getting like these flips of like character themes that you normally
It's all
see.
breadcrumbs too at the beginning.
Kind of, yeah, because like Domas is like tall and seems like he's clearly been assigned with like training Boji, and you think he has his best interest in mind, but then once you start seeing what Prince Daida can do, and he's a lot more like gifted naturally, and Boji like literally has no physical strength. Like literally, there is a curse on him that makes it so he has 0 physical strength, and this is like the son of 2 giants, and but then in the
little baby.
yeah,
Little tiny baby, yeah.
Little tiny
his
baby.
mom
Like the
holds
mom
him.
literally has him right here, but he's okay. He's okay. You know, 9 month whatever giant pregnancy full term is. But yeah, he had like a little baby.
he's bean sized.
Yeah, yeah, and they're like, oh shit, and like I think the dad almost looks like disappointed too. He's like, oh, that's my
well,
son.
it's his
But-
fault.
But, yeah, but he needed. Yeah,
Well, it's his fault.
Yeah.
And like,
But we don't know that yet.
and again, like flipping these themes, like we have the evil snake guy on the balcony, and like you think like he has ill intentions because he's the actual trainer for Daida.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, you go ahead.
And then in the background is the spear guy. Well, when we first get these characters introduced, it's like after like the 3rd or 4th time that like Boji's walked out of town to like give his rich people clothes to Kage, because and like Boji, at first we think he might be dumb because all the characters around him keep saying he's dumb, but like Boji was just being nice. Like he just knows that like this guy needed to go sell these clothes and make some money, and that he's rich. He's a fucking prince.
That's what made me. I think that's what made me like really water up, is when you realize like, yo, he's been like lip
he
reading
knew what
everybody.
everybody was saying the whole
this,
time.
and so he had to keep that stern face because he's like, well, I mean, yeah, I'm still. But when he came back, when he broke down, I almost broke down. I was like, oh my god,
Yeah.
bro, that hit me so hard.
Because at this point, also Kage has established that the only reason he knows what Kage is saying is because, like you said, his ugly character design. When he's not having a regular arm out of his blob self or like amoeba self, like he has like this like mouth
Claw.
moving thing claw
Yeah,
that he mimics his lip movement with.
yeah.
So like you said, Boji is not dumb. He knows what he wants. So he's just like, oh, here you go, dude. That's my clothes.
Yeah.
Crazy that.
So that's why Kage was at like the yard
Yeah.
when they were sparring,
Yes.
because like Boji invited him home. He was like, "Let's go, let's go hang out." And like Kage, thinking he's the smart one that's about to scam some little rich kid, he's like, "Yeah, I'm about to get him. He's a little sucker." But then like that's where we start seeing like Boji's living conditions, because like the scene I'm describing is he walks into the castle naked because he got robbed by Kage.
Oh yeah, the mom's being
The
a
mom's
dick.
like, yeah, what
The
heck?
evil stepmother Healing's there, and she's like, "Look at him! What is wrong with him?" And she's talking to like the 3 best like knights of the kingdom or whatever. It's the
like the Knight's Guard or whatever they're called.
yeah. And like they all start like talking down to him, and that's like what we find out later, that he can read lips. It's even sadder because like the stepmom is saying something mean and calling him dumb or simple, and why is he doing that, while like the knights in the background are signing something different,
yeah.
that sounds like a little nicer.
Mhm.
Like and Boji just still goes along with it.
That's tough, man. I'm telling you, man. This show, like Aldo says, this show really knows how to make it sad. man.
because I'm telling you, you don't know the audience doesn't know this about Boji yet.
Yeah.
Like
We
we don't know
don't.
his limitations either.
Yeah.
And it just starts going so quickly to what his motivations are
Mm-hmm.
that it is also insane, because he has his dad dying, and when like his dad finally passed away, a demon appeared
Mhm.
Yeah.
and pointed at Boji and left. So the
He laughed,
mom,
too. He was just like,
the,
"Ah."
and this was going back to like the evil mom. The mom, we the audience thinking that she is the evil like stepmom.
Mhm.
She picks
Her son.
her son as the king.
Right.
Mhm.
Because like and this is after like Bochi got beat and everything, because like just finishing on that scene that like CJ brought up for like a second. What's his name? Is it Dinah, the blonde dude?
Dida?
Dida?
I think so.
Dida. Yeah.
Boji has no physical strength, which I was alluding to earlier. But he's super quick. Like he can dodge anything.
He's just bonking him.
Oh yeah, there we go. When he bonks him the first
No, I'm not
time.
thinking Dida. Who's the swordmaster?
Oh,
Domas?
Domas, thank you.
Domas.
So like when Dida challenges Boji to a sparring match, Domas, right?
Mhm.
The
The redhead, right? The one in the blue.
Yes. Domas is explaining like, oh, the Prince Dida's feeling uppity because he just won a sparring match, and like they made it sound like some little rich kid tourney kind of thing or something like that.
Yeah, like he beat the number one in the King's Guard or something like that.
Right. So Dida's feeling bad, and then Boji, like being down to spar, he's so quick that he dodges everything. It's making Dida mad, and Dida's like kind of falling over. But like Boji, whenever he counter strikes, like in college sports, from what I've seen of fencing and like the Olympics, like if you get a hit, like that's a point, right?
Yeah.
But I guess the way they were sparring, you actually have to like
to,
hurt
like,
the
hit
dude.
him, yeah,
like you gotta
like,
get him
really
to like
hit him,
submit. But like since Boji has no physical strength, like he kept bopping him, but it doesn't do anything. So like they let the fight go on, and that's when Domas gets Boji hurt. Because he tells Boji that it's like not kingly, it's not like chivalrous.
You're supposed to
be dodging.
You're supposed to exchange
Like
hits
blows,
with your enemy. Yeah,
And it's that, and
Yeah,
that's when Boji gets like 3 limbs broken, and he's just like his face is swollen, and he just gets like cocooned, mummied, in bandages, like put to bed.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like next thing we know, Kage is in the room where Boji is, and he's concerned about him. And we see this like shadowy figure of a woman show up, and like I don't know, we're green, like Somana stuff.
That was cool.
That was cool.
And then you're like, oh, wow, what did Kage see? And then boom, cliffhanger, and they start you on the next episode or something like that. Kage sees that is the stepmom that healed him. So now, like again, how they started just flipping all these tropes.
Kage also like promised himself to Boji right then too.
Correct.
Like
yeah, that scene got me when he was crying.
Yeah, because like he sees Boji all messed up, and he's like, "Dude, I'll be your friend. I'll be there for you. Like whatever you need, it's me and you." And like Boji
used to get beat up too.
Yeah. And,
Wow.
And Boji all
Way to bring
right.
up
That's
bad
where we
memories.
come. That's where we like finish his flashback.
Mm-hmm.
You're right then. So then like Boji all messed up still because he hasn't been healed yet, gets out of the bed to like kind of do like a half bow to him and be like, dude, I appreciate you. Like we can be friends. And it's terrible. And you're just like, his audience is like, lay down. Like you're so hurt, Boji. Stop.
Like stop trying. Yeah. It's like, damn.
And and I think it's like maybe the next day or something like that. Like that's when they reiterate for a second time that Boji really is the heir, because that's when they introduce the king, but he's bedridden and he's a giant. He's ginormous. He's like, what's the bed like? How would you describe it? It's like 40 yards across.
Yeah,
like,
man, that bed is
it's
that's like someone's house, bro. Like there you go, just sitting. He's sitting.
Oh yeah, totally.
Easily.
That's bigger than like a
You're
fucking
talking about the
studio
king's
apartment.
room?
The king's bed.
Yeah.
The king's bed. We're talking about the king's bed.
Yeah. Like every time he's animated, like imagine like a third of a frame just of him like just laying down.
Just sitting.
Like Boji's described to be like what, 4 feet tall? He looks like half an inch
Yeah.
tall.
He
Like,
looks like a bean.
so like that's what he reiterates to everybody and puts it in his will that Boji really is there. Like you're not gonna mess with him. And then that's when we get it's like an evil scene all over again. That like 2 nights before he gotten beaten up by his half brother, and then his dad dies, and then like his brother gets made the king just because the queen said so.
Yeah, just like that.
And the demon was freaky. I remember at the time like not
Classic.
registering it at first.
Yeah, classic demon face, right? Like
It
the
looked like
emoji.
Disney demon.
Like the emoji, just like
Disney demon,
Yeah.
like red
Does he-
face, long pointy.
Is it in this scene that he like speaks just a little bit, but it's like dialect we don't understand?
Yeah.
That's
Boop,
when,
boop,
and
boop.
he's
And
just-
points
he
at
he
Boji.
points and laughs. And I just
Yeah.
remember, so I was like, dude, how come we don't understand what he's saying? Yeah, I was like, that's
reminded me
cool.
of Zelda when in Wind Waker we used to talk to the god beast and stuff.
Oh,
They'd be
yeah.
like, "Bro, bro,
Oh,
bro,
it's just
bro,
random
bro."
noises.
Yeah.
Well, and then the scene's freaky because like everyone's 3 feet tall at the foot of this bed, and this giant dies and just flatlines, and then out of it comes an equally big demon, and we're just like, what is
What is
that?
that? It's like, what the
And it's
fuck?
never, it's not. Well, I will say it's never. It's not explained until like episode 16. Like we're just
It's a way
happened?
later.
you almost forget about it. You're just like, why was there a demon?
It's like I forgot he was there at the funeral. You know what I mean? When he pops out, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, because the reasoning of the mom was like, can you see what happened the other day? It's like we literally saw a demon
Point at Boji.
Like, do you really think he should be the next king? And it wasn't so much of a bad thing that she did, you know, but it was.
Yeah, that's something to point out.
It's kind of like what I was talking about earlier.
Uh-huh.
Like the village people don't think Boji can lead. Like
Correct.
they're just
that she makes everybody close their eyes and raise their hand. Like, who really think Boji can lead?
Uh-huh.
And like nobody raises their hand. She's like, see, like
Crazy. And then
would you have raised your hand at that moment?
I would
in
have
time?
raised my hand.
I would
have raised my hand. I'm not a jerk.
I think he definitely. can.
Starts fighting everybody for Boji.
Nah, I would have been like, nah. Did you see him out there? He got whooped. I don't think he can do it.
But yeah, and then after this,
Boji runs away from home.
Boji, no, she
Well, he tries to run away from home.
he asks his mom. He's like, hey,
His stepmom.
his stepmom, hey, his mom. At the end of the day,
Maybe
his mom.
right now she's acting real
Okay,
stepmom.
yeah, okay.
Right now she's acting real stepmom. All right.
Big stepmom. But yeah, he's like, hey, mom, and sign language and stuff. It's like, can you let me go on this journey? I wanna learn what Dad learned. Blah blah whatever. And she's like, no. It's like, no. It's like, because in a way she just wanted to nest him too.
Well, the language she does use is that she's trying to protect him.
Yeah.
And like it felt kind of believable. And I remember at that time being like, I wonder if this is like poor direction from like the voice director, or if this is maybe just poor voice acting, because it felt like off tone.
Oh,
I remember thinking that while watching the dub, because I know English and I know English vocal
Dialect.
expression.
Yeah.
Like, you get what I mean? And she seemed concerned, and I was like, that's not the bitch I've been seeing for 4 episodes. I don't know.
Why does she sound like she
Yeah,
cares
why doesn't
now?
she sound like she cares? I was like, oh, it doesn't sound right.
So like the counts on flipped scripts against Boji, like flip. We already seen one, like Kage. Like we're about to see the moms. Like
moms.
somewhere
We
around
start getting
here.
her first flashbacks with Boji. We get like a million flashbacks between Queen Healing and Boji. We get like a million flashbacks, and this is where we like get the first one,
They're
because
all good.
we find out that the womanly shadowed figure that had healed him with green light after he got beat up by his half brother was Queen Healing.
Yeah.
And like when she's denying Boji the access to go on his little quest, that's where we get like her first flashback with him, where like she meets Boji for the first time. He's even smaller.
Yeah.
His mom had just died, and like her dress that she's wearing looks like the dress from like the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You know
With
what
the
I
little
mean?
White collar.
So she looked evil. She looked evil as shit. So I'm like, okay, you're kind of proving my point here. But what we learned is that she learned to sign. She learned how to deal with his anxiety because she wanted to get closer to him. When she first got pregnant and first had Queen Daida, and she's like, dude, Boji, this is gonna be your little brother. I need you to look after him. Like it really seemed like in the beginning, at least, like Boji was part of the family with Queen Healing.
Correct. Yeah.
But then it's like meaner, like that we see her being such a dickhead right now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can
yes.
I say one
but
thing?
Go for it, bro.
One thing I liked about that scene in her character is that not only did she learn how to sign, but she learned from the servant. And that's a big step for a queen to do. You know what I mean? Especially like during those times. It's like,
when she's first introduced, she uses language like I'm of royalty, I'm of nobility. Is I think the word she was using, and she's like, so I can't belittle myself like that with common folk stuff.
Yeah. And then you see that she was like willing to go the extra mile for Boji. I was like, man, that's when I was like, yo, that's when like how Drew said, it makes you wonder, like, okay, so why are you such a bitch now? Like, what the hell? Like, what happened?
Yeah, because we also see a lot of instances where like on the frames where she's trying to get close to Boji. She cuts a piece of cake for him. He's like, hey, he just keeps running away. He just keeps running away from her, and she's learning sign, and he keeps running away from her, even though she learned how to introduce herself or ask him how he's doing, and he keeps running away, and she is getting flustered at the fact that's like, I'm trying to take care of you almost.
Yeah.
In which it starts showing the humility with the people in the royal family. Like this is not just a kingdom where we see your typical asshole king. He was kind of an asshole, but like he was kind of an asshole, but like to his people, to his kingdom, he wasn't.
Nobody fucked up Boji as hard as like his dad.
Yeah, yeah, he's a fuck dude, man. You know how we were talking about like bad fathers in anime?
Yeah.
Like he's up there.
He's pretty high up there.
Yeah.
Granted, like I think what makes it meaner is he ruined Boji's life before Boji wasn't even born.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He
I think that's me. Like
Yeah.
that's extra points in like king bosses like category.
He's like, yeah, I'll sell my son's power.
he's like my
It's like,
unborn
it's like
son.
the, it's like
too.
the opposite of Hercules.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
If Hercules
fucked up.
was like basically human, but he had his dad's like godlike super strength, like the opposite happened with Boji.
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah. They took
It's,
took his strength.
Yeah. So we learned later on that the dad.
Hold on,
Oh.
finish the memory
Sorry,
with the queen. You were
sorry.
getting somewhere
Yeah,
good.
Okay, yeah. So the kid, Boji keeps walking away, and then there was a point where we meet the three-headed serpent.
Yeah.
It's a regular size three-headed serpent who is all poked with branches and has cuts on it, and one of his heads missing. One of the heads is completely blind. The other head just has one eye. There's fang missing and stuff like that. And Bo's is getting bitten by it. So you're like, what the hell's gonna happen? But the mom comes, gets the snake, throws it over across the yard, and Boji's like, no, wait, let me down. He got down, and tries to help the snake, in which we see Queen Healing the snake.
Yeah.
And that's-
Queen Hilling is healing.
Yeah.
Is that why her name's Hilling?
Yeah,
I didn't even catch up. I didn't even catch that. That's
You
so
think so?
annoying.
and yeah, I think so.
So Queen Healing sees her deaf and blind like 4-year-old stepson,
Which he
like,
thinks is kind of slow too. Like
yeah.
he's essentially being like, "Oh, my slow deaf kid is getting over there being by his snake."
Poor Boji.
Poor Boji,
Poor
bro.
But
Boji.
he's just trying to help the fuck.
Why? Okay, I forget. I remember that scene. I remember that exact scene, but I don't remember what the logic was for why Boji was letting the snake bite him.
No, well, that's how the snake acted because he was a snake.
Mm.
But like once he got off, and I guess the snake saw that he wasn't trying to be bad. I'm pretty sure Boji was just about to touch it, and he fucking got its arm.
because he saw a hurt snake.
Correct.
And Boji's a nice guy. I was like,
Correct.
oh shit, snake.
Yeah.
You know what it makes me
Exactly.
think of literally just right now? Because you know how later on we realized like poison really doesn't do anything to him. I think that was a little hint also at that
Also
moment where
true,
poison
yeah.
doesn't do anything.
Well,
I
he-
never caught
what
that.
we
till
find
just
out
right
way
now.
later is he was basically trained by the snake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He was
it's true.
trained by the snake.
So it's like that. I literally just caught it. That's funny.
So yeah, so because we haven't, I don't think we've seen the snake yet. But Kage got caught by this evil-esque kind of one of the king's guards.
Yeah.
What's his name?
They call him the
snake.
Strong Four or something.
The
Bevan?
snake.
Bevin, yeah.
Bevan?
It was Bevin.
Bevan, and this is the reason it reminds me a lot of but the Three Musketeers, because Bevan
Of the Big Four.
Bevan,
Bevan. I like his blade.
Bevan, Domas, and Despa.
Dorsh.
And Despot remind me of like the characteristics of the Three Musketeers.
Oh, I get you.
Uh,
Oh, okay,
yeah. One of them's really vain, which is Domas. The other one's really good, the leader with a sword, which is
Bevin.
Bevan.
Bevan. And then Domas is like a super like straight up dude, but he's not super straight up in this.
Which one was? Is that the Spearmaster or is that the Strong guy?
No, the Spearmaster. I'm not
Spearmaster.
counting him as one of the Musketeers.
Because he doesn't fit with the Three Musketeers. There it is.
Yeah.
There's a fourth one, all right?
I'm
There's a
just saying.
Spearmaster.
Yeah.
But, like, you're right. So, like, Bevin had caught Kage inside of the castle,
Mhm.
recognized him as one of the Shadow Clan.
Like, who you here to kill, motherfucker?
Yeah, so starts sticking snakes at him, and like,
Oh yeah.
and like these snakes are like biting up Kage, and like he's got to hide and run away.
Doesn't Kage
passes
like
out or
isn't he
something like that.
pinned like for a moment and then he has to like kind of rip off that? Oh,
He
that was
gets-
a ballsy
He
moment.
gets mid hook
yeah,
on
yeah.
in one of the cells. It's crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I gotta
Crazy.
tough it out. That was crazy.
He
'Cause
tore
he's
part of
supposed to,
himself to
he's
get off
supposed
the
to
hook.
be like what, a teenager at this point. So that's
Yeah,
ballsy.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is ballsy.
Well, honestly, they kind of describe him as being Boji's age.
I'll tell you anything.
Oh, yeah.
If
So
you
that's like-
threaten to pull my nails.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I think. Boji, that's what I think. Boji's
Even
like,
just threaten it.
Just
Don't even do
threaten
it.
it.
oh,
just
sit on
threaten.
the-
yeah.
And God, what even happened? So, like, we get that flashback from the queen, whatever. She loved him at one time. She doesn't want him to get hurt on this little mission. Boji tries to, like, shimmy his way down out of his, like, 5th floor balcony that night, like, by tying, like, sheets together or whatever.
Which I think is, like, a typical child thing to do. Like, to sneak out of a window or something like that. They get obviously tied. He's on their clothes together.
He's on his fucking quest, and he got grounded, and then he made a blanket rope. As well, he puts on. Well, I believe he puts like one of his like blankets on him as a little cape.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because everybody's like,
unless he actually has it.
Everybody's like, what's with the stupid cape? Like before he got to his mom to tell him about the quest he wanted to go in, everybody's like, why is he doing his dumbass thing? God, they're so evil.
I know, like they don't understand kids.
It's around that time too when like Kage escapes that like Bebin catches him again and makes him promise something, and that's where Kage like kind of tells Boji, "Oh, you're never gonna see me again."
True. Oh, that's right. True. Another sad moment.
Yeah, which was super sad because like we just. You just showed me what, like 5-6 episodes of this guy making his first friend.
Yeah,
and then loses that friend like an episode later.
He's in the friend even told him, he's like, I'll never leave you. And then a couple episodes later, yo, I'm out. He's like, I'm out of here.
And it happens twice. The same thing.
And it gets me every time.
Yeah, it gets
me. Every time I got suckered in that shit. Of course, like, yo, fuck. I knew it. Like how Drew said earlier, it's like I knew it was coming, but I got.
But Boji also cries to the snake after his brother's like coronated, because what we learn is that like that was like when the snake had originally bit Boji and saved him. It seems like it was maybe a decade or so ago, because like Boji goes underground and has a whole conversation with the snake, who's now like 20 feet long.
Yeah, he goes he's looking for Kage, and he's not in the dungeon, so he sees one of the snakes. Of the snake?
Right, of the big...
the snake has like little snakes.
Pet snakes, I guess.
Yeah, pet snakes, or brothers and sisters, sons, daughters. I don't know, but he has an army of little snakes. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go see my friend. But he's not telling that to the audience, like not even inner dialogue. We don't have any inner dialogue of Boji.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we're on his head and he's like, I'm gonna fuck this fool up right now.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And we see this big serpent we think it's gonna be. He's like, oh, what's up, Boji? You know what I'm saying?
They call him Master.
Yeah.
Hey, Master, are you okay? Do you want food? Do you want like...
Or is it Sama? They call him like Sama or whatever.
I watched the time.
Yeah. Okay.
They called him Master.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Sorry, just
same
nerds,
thing.
You know,
same thing.
You saw it as like it was coming out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we think that's strange, and that kind of ties in the Queen's flashback, and like when Boji tries to escape off the windowsill, he falls on his backpack. And like survives, but like the Queen is so shocked. Well, he hurts his leg, I think, and that's where the Queen has to like rush downstairs and like healing magics him again.
He looked pretty. Well, no,
doesn't she? I believe she grabs him, but then he like slips, right?
Something like that.
Yeah,
and
like
he just like
breaks and he falls,
and he just like falls, and she's like, "Oh my god!" And then do you think he planned that, or just like total luck because it's Boji?
No, I think it was just luck.
Yeah.
You think it was just like
at this point we don't know the Kage is in his backpack.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That is right. Okay, and then
so like he falls off. He is less hurt than he could have been, and the Queen heals him. She remembers that she loves him again, and that's where she kind of like reluctantly is like, okay, you can go on your quest. You're going to deliver a letter to my relatives in the next kingdom over. We're going to give you, is it Domas? We're going to give you Domas and Domas's
little weird ass assistant. Yeah. That nervous dude. Oh, bro, he was kind of low key annoying. His crossbow was cool, but he got on my nerves sometimes. I can't remember his name.
Hokuto.
Yeah, like super greaser dude.
Oh,
like
dude, he was Hokuto. Yeah, bro, he was so fucking like.
It's like a Bob's Burgers character.
Exactly. Yeah.
He was so goofy, man. I was like, oh, man.
So,
I don't know.
So they let him do that. We get a cool like episode or two that's like Boji on his little mission, being a little man,
hiding from monsters, camping. It was like camping. I just take my son out. You know what I'm saying?
You ever played Dragon Quest? That's what it felt like to me. It felt like a Dragon Quest journey. You know, you just build a party of like 3 or 4 people, and then you just go out town to town, and just like defeat monsters, doing shit. To me, that's what I felt like.
RPG stuff.
Yeah, little platformers like going around. I was like, yo, this is tight.
But then again, I feel like the motivation still, because they think so little of Boji. It's like, just take my son out. But Domas had like another agenda, obviously.
Yeah, they treat it like, well, he treats it like a babysitting job, but yeah he has like a hidden agenda.
Well, there's like a mini half episode, like mini arc where Boji gets lost underground.
He meets like burpers and
He meets an underground king, and that's where we actually, as an audience, get explained what the ranking
What
of
the
kings,
ranking of kings
oh,
is.
true.
That's where we actually get the explanation, because I don't even think he's named. Like
Wait,
they
is
just
he
call
a-
him like the underground king or something.
No, isn't he on a
Inside
plateau?
He's inside of a pitfall.
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's living inside of a cave, inside of a pitfall that he created.
That's right.
And then he spends the night on top of a hill with Boji and explains what the ranking of kings
Okay,
is.
that's what I'm remembering.
And like, this is one of like the first characters we meet that kind of like can kind of understand like Boji's mumbles. Like,
Oh, yeah.
he can't sign or anything, but Boji's like blah, 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 blah. And like he's just like, that's right, little man.
Like, you said it, brother.
You said it, brother. And that's where he's explaining, like, oh, so you're King Boss's son. Nice to meet you, Prince Boji. He's just like, your dad was the second strongest king and was the next in line to probably be the ranking of king number 1. The ranking of kings is super cool. They rank all the kings across the country, and the number 1 ranked king gets a choice of any magical item, but every king picks the same magical item and they all go crazy. Isn't that crazy, Prince Boji? And blah, 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 blah. You got it, bro.
And that's when it makes you like, isn't that like, do they eat and then he snaps, or does he snap before they get a chance to
They
like,
eat first. They're
Okay, yeah.
eating. They catch like a wild boar or something.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
like-
yeah.
And in the same pit that Boji trips, and he survived only because he's too small.
to get
So, like,
gutted
get
by the
gutted by
pitfall.
anything?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to get out of it. He's like, oh,
just falls in between the
okay.
blades.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, well,
and,
cool.
and yeah, they eat a boar, but then we find out that was it the same food that the guys were eating when Dumas and
Oh no, that I think that's later at their campfire
Oh,
when they
okay,
get
okay,
their
okay,
blades.
okay.
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
I
but they
think I know
do eat, and there's this crazy ass part of the animation where they eat the hog and they're sitting on like this mountain and cliff side, and they're looking at the night sky, and we see like this blob, like this thing that is sucking up souls from the world, and like
It reminded me of the big monster from Princess Mononoke.
okay.
Do you remember
yeah.
that forest monster thing?
Yeah,
It reminded me of that.
yeah, and then it spits
Such a
out. It spits out back like animals into the forest, and he's explaining, "Oh,
This is how the world works.
this is how the world works. It's like what comes in must go out, but we have to thank the people that we like it."
Dance with me, Mr. Boji.
Yeah.
We gotta do the nature dance.
Yeah, yes.
Feels like
And-
I don't know, like a drunken grandfather. You know
Well,
what I mean?
it's 'cause the character itself looks whacked
They
out.
made him seem manic. Like
Yeah.
he had like really leveled lows where he sounded really smart and knowledgeable and like was trying to explain Boji how the world worked and how the ranking of kings worked. But then he'd go like crazy manic like the very next sentence, and he'd be like, "What did you say?" And then like you think Boji's life is in danger once he has like that last manic episode,
Mhm.
and then Boji runs off, and then like he finds like Domas and what's his name, Hokuto again.
Hokuto.
Right.
And it felt like a fever dream. It was like
Yeah.
So
Like,
us
did
as
it
an audience
happen
were
or
like,
did it
did
not
that
really
happen?
happen?
Yeah.
Did he see that forest
Yeah.
creature? Did he see that wood king?
It's
Like,
was he tripping the whole
Yeah,
time?
because I think it's the whole part that they didn't even talk about it. Like Boji doesn't even communicate this. to
Never
never
does
anybody.
comes
it.
up
No,
again.
no.
Never
Never
explains
comes
it to Kage. Never
Mhm.
explains it to
that was just like,
Dimas.
Yeah,
and
or-
that was just like the narrative way to like explain to us how things were, so that way you could like, oh well, here's
Yeah,
a little
but-
story lore, and then continue on.
But you know what? It felt to me too. It felt to me like because at one point it was so how do I say? It was so like they made it seem like it was very important to meet a king.
yeah.
Oh,
Like
okay,
not a lot of people go meet out people outside their kingdom or something like that.
Mm.
I had that same sense. Yeah.
So to meeting another main character or main, you know, like Legion of Doom kind of villain, it feels weird. It felt like One Piece to me.
A little bit.
Mhm.
And it's cool because I'm telling you, it's only like half an episode. Like it's not even like a full episode that's like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the very next night, or it might be that same
It's
night.
not
I
even a
can't
full
really
half episode,
remember.
It's like a quarter of an episode.
Yeah, but like that, Boji's at a campfire with Dimas and Hokuto, and then like ninja kunai like come at Boji, and he like is barely able to evade them.
Mm-hmm.
Which is random too. You're like, huh? What was that?
Yeah,
He recognizes the kunas, right?
I think
Domas does.
Domas
I think
does.
He sees them and he's just like, oh, I know who these are, and that's when he looks back.
I think
and
he
he's
says the Shadow Clan even. Does he?
I can't believe. No, I think he
No,
said.
I
I think
think he
he
said
calls out
something like
Beben. I think he does
Oh, he
call out
does
Beben. I think he's just like Beben. I know you're out there,
Does he?
mother sucker.
I can't
Yeah,
even remember.
I believe so.
But then we
Yeah,
get a
'cause
sense
I
that
believe he does.
the meat was poisoned.
Yeah, because like they're also roasting like a boar or a chicken or something,
Uh-huh.
and then it falls like during that skirmish when like Domas is like trying to get the kunais not to hit Boji,
Uh-huh.
and then rats eat it on the floor and they end up dead
Dying,
right next
yeah.
to the meat.
And that's when he's just like, oh, well, we lucked out because
The meat was poisoned.
Yeah,
oh,
so
that's
like,
crazy.
oh,
Good thing you didn't eat it, Prince Boji.
It's like, yeah, so whoever that was probably saved you. You know what I mean?
Good job, Prince Boji.
Yeah.
And then they go to like the Maiden Abyss city.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They go into a town that's like built around the
Like
crater
gates
to
of
the
hell.
underworld.
It's like, why would you build there? But hey, to each
Well,
their own, I
they
guess.
explain it. They're like there's like business from there. They get resources out of there. They like it's big on like natural minerals and they get meat from like the demons that pop out of there. So they
Yeah,
have
I wonder if mystery meat. I wonder where that meat comes from. You know what I mean? Because it's like
The
it's still the
demon meat?
underworld. Yeah, it's like where'd it come from? It's got to
That's
be
crazy.
dead people. or
It is
dead
a
bodies.
fantastical world, and we get to know that a lot about this point. We're like, oh, okay, we are in a super crazy fantastical world.
because we just kind of saw Kage before. We were
Yeah.
like, I guess it's fantasy. I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like nothing else crazy has happened. But yeah, there's people out here living out like some demons.
Some
Demon-
crazy
demon
ass
meat.
lives.
And Dimas is trying to get
Domas.
Domas is trying to get like a place for them to stay for the night. So he's like, okay, Hokuro, you go find us a motel. I'm gonna go show Prince Boji the demon pit. We'll meet you there. You know, he's got to see what this is like on his way to this other kingdom. And then we get like a Lion King scene where Domas is like showing
Lion
Boji the edge. And just kind of like just pushes him in.
It's, you know what? It's like when it was, you could see it coming. Like right when there's like, oh, he's gonna push him. Like you're like, he's gonna push. Like just the way the music, the way like the
shading on Domas, they weren't showing his face.
It was like all of a sudden how it becomes like red tonish, and you're like, oh, something evil's about to fucking happen, dude. Like no bullshit. It's like, oh, he's gonna push him.
A lot of orchestra music too.
Oh, I like
Yeah.
the music a lot.
Yeah, the
It
music's
felt
crazy.
very what's the movie? Revenge of the Sith. Because like the lava was coming up and then the orchestra was coming. I was like, oh bro, he's about to like Vader push his ass into the lava or some shit, dude. I was like,
Yeah.
oh man.
That's what he does. He just
It
fucking
literally
pushes
just
it.
shoves the little kid like that, which that's when you realize, oh, this motherfucker was a fucking traitor.
He was the one that poisoned the meat.
Yeah, it's like it was him all along.
The
And it's like
the kunais weren't going for Boji. They were
they're
going for Domas.
bro. It's like it was for this motherfucker.
Because best boy Kage was in the backpack.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because isn't it? We find out next episode is as he's falling, doesn't Kage like grab the like some arrow or some shit? Yeah,
with the rope.
yeah, and he like shoots it out and like, isn't that like the only time that ever happens? Like that little crossbow rope thing happens. Like he just rescues him in that one moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy though.
So Boji wakes up next episode. He's not dead. He was just like knocked out a
He's
little
been
bit.
Banjo Kazooie
Unconscious.
all along.
Yeah.
He's been
Yeah.
Banjo
Banjo Kazooie the whole time.
but then Kage's got this crazy idea once he wakes up Boji. He's just like, hey, let's walk to the bottom of this demon pit and go meet the Demon King because I got a letter from the old biddy at the castle.
Right, it's like we have to send it to
He
him.
calls the queen the biddy like the rest of the anime, bro. The
It's-
old biddy said that we gotta go deliver a letter to D something who lives in the underworld.
It's funny because I heard him say it. I don't know why I didn't catch it earlier on, but like later on he says it in the English dub, and the first thing I thought was like, oh, Drew's probably laughing his ass off because he's like the whole time he's like, yo, the biddy, the old biddy. And I'm like, yo,
the biddy,
calling her
like-
the biddy. And he's like, yo, the biddy said this, and I'm like, yo, Drew must be laughing, dude. This is hilarious.
And honestly, to me at this point, I started not believing him, Boji.
Oh.
I caught myself being
Doubter.
I was like, I caught myself being like, bro, just go home. Like, you don't gotta go down there. Like, get out. And then, cause, like, everybody's talking shit to him, and
And
I'm
he
like,
got
dude, he's
suckered.
cool. He's got it. He's got it. But it's being so like beat down. His friend, his king's guard, he just threw him on a cliff
Got one
into
up
the
on him.
hell, like pits of hell.
Well, honestly, Domas feels bad about it, and it's
Instantly,
crazy.
too, yeah.
So, like, the next episode, we're getting juxtaposed, like, them two walking down the demon pit, and the Domas is on the surface talking to Hokuto.
Gives him the worst excuse ever. He's like, "Oh yeah, he was walking and he fucking slipped, bro." And it's like,
and then Hokuto starts freaking out because he was, like, the only person of, like, the normal Kingsguard that was on Boji's side during the sparring match with his brother.
That has a backstory too.
Yeah, doesn't he see? Yeah, he sees Boji dodging all the snakes. That's when he realizes, like, yo, this kid has talent. Which is crazy because it's like a random flashback that you have, but it's more lore for us viewers to see on
for the motivation.
Like, when I was talking about, like, Boji was trained by the snake, like, Hokuto at one point had seen the snake, like, shooting rocks at Boji when he's like 5 years old, and Boji's just like ducking and dodging, and that's why he's so good at dodging, like, swordplay.
Yeah, it's
and that's why Hokuto believed in him.
Yeah, because he's seen it firsthand.
And then Hokuto, like, crying, trying to like stand up to the big man Doma and be like, "You bitch, what did you do?
What did you do?"
Even though he's gonna get his ass kicked, and starts getting his ass kicked.
And
sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do.
And not only that, like, Hokuro at one point, I think the first time they meet is that Hokuro is in the cemetery and he's crying over his mom's grave, and we see happy go lucky Boji shows up and he's like, "Here's a flower for your mom." He's like, "Get out of here, kid." He's like, "Oh well." He just puts it in front of her tomb, and Boji keeps going. He's like, "What the hell's wrong with that kid?" He's crying. He follows him. We know that there's a tomb for his mother, which makes it extra sad because we haven't heard anything about the mother. You know, it's wild.
But it's like, I can relate to what you're going through.
No, and not even the relation, but like the relationship between Hokage and Boji, and like the feelings that Hokuto has right here against Domas, and Domas fucks him up. He's like, "Okay, kill me, like
he Domas goes kind of manic himself. He feels so guilty, and he starts beating the shit out of Hokuto, and then he's like, take my sword, cut my hand off." And Domas is like, I mean, Hokuto's like, "Dude, what are you talking about?" And like, Domas does feel bad. He's just like, "Take my sword hand. Like, I hurt a kid. We kind of get some gore. It reminded me of like a Game of Thrones scene, kind of. Like,
it reminded me of GHG too.
And yeah, a little bit.
What's his name? The Golden Lion dude, whatever his name is, like
Jaime Lannister.
There you go, Jaime Lannister.
Yeah, exactly. And then like, Domas passes out. You think he's just gonna let himself bleed out? I think. And
doesn't he slice it himself?
Yeah, he
what's his name doesn't want to do it
because Hokuto didn't want to do it. But then Domas wakes up anyways, like in a hotel room that Hokuto had bought for them, and like Hokuto had like patched them up.
Would you have done that for him?
Fuck no.
I would have left his ass down.
Somebody just killed a child,
and
then cut his own hand off in the middle of a street in the town I don't live in.
Right, I would have been
lunatic
like,
just died.
Yeah, I would have been like, "You're your own dog." I would have been like,
absolutely
put that on ice. Call me later.
And that's where they kind of come to a pact together, being like, "This is my punishment. Like, this was my sword hand. Like, do whatever you want with me. Let's march back to the kingdom right now, and I will
confess my crimes.
I will confess my crimes myself, even though." Whose idea was it? Was it his idea?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe so.
I can't remember if it was the queen's idea or not, or was it just his idea?
No, it was a brother.
Oh, it was.
Oh, yeah.
What also we haven't been describing is the evil
brother story. Yeah,
the evil half brother Daida speaks to an evil mirror, and and he does whatever the mirror tells him, no questions asked.
That's right. Oh man, we're so much wrapped in Boji stuff.
It's because Daida has been like in the background of like Boji's life,
in the shadows, man.
Yeah, maybe at the same time we learned that they do work close at some point, but he just wants to be king. He gets like this ambitious motivation and greed about it.
Well, it's also because the mirror told him to.
Yeah, correct. So mirror keeps telling him like, "Yeah, you're gonna get your father's power. Yeah, you're gonna be
the strongest.
Yeah.
You're gonna be the king.
Yeah.
You're gonna be the winner of the ranking of kings."
Correct. And then this ambition grows like Malfoy style.
Mm-hmm. But it's crazy because he gets like a little.
He looks like Malfoy.
He gets like he reminds me like a Joffrey. It kind of annoyed the shit out of me a little bit. But like, you get this like hatred sense from, especially because since Boji is like tiny and fragile, everybody always like kind of babies and caters to him. Whereas opposed to Daida, like he gets all the fucking responsibility and burden like thrown on his shoulders. They're like, "No, you're your father's son." Yeah,
he seems like the competent.
Yeah,
one.
they're like, "Yeah, you're the one that can actually do it." So here now, you don't get to have all the fun kitty stuff. That's why, you know what I mean. You don't get to have fun with like your mom and that. You got to be a man at this young age, which I think is really tough.
It's also
on him too.
It's also King Boss that introduced him to the mirror.
Yeah,
and Daida, he calls Domas into his chambers to tell him, he's like, how could you do that to my brother? This was after he beat the living dog shit out of Boji with like the stick.
Yeah.
And he's like, why would you do that? Why'd you tell my brother? He's like, oh, I told him to do this and that. It's like, but he was winning. It's like, how could you do that, you piece of shit? It's like, how can you live with yourself? He was just talking down to him like a white rich girl to a bouncer kind of.
Yeah.
And
and Daida's like 11.
Yeah, dude, he's like young.
And he's like, okay, well, and then Domas, he starts crying because his worth ethic, his pride has been hurt too. And he's like, I'll do whatever. He's like, okay, you'll do whatever. He's like, kill my brother.
Like put him out of his misery, kind of is almost how he put it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so sad. It's so evil. And then like
So many doubters.
also, so while they were on that journey to the pit and we're getting juxtaposed to Kage and Boji going down into the demon pit, what we're also seeing is Prince Daida, or King Daida at this point, with the mirror, is walking down to like the basement of the castle.
Mm-hmm.
And he's finding like magical creatures that his father had beaten in ice. He finds like a little like altar, like a king's altar looking thing, and then he finds like two puppets inside that start doing like alchemy.
Mm-hmm.
It like Prince Daida gets like scared at first, or King Daida gets scared at first, and the mirror's like, no, those are my subordinates, it's okay. It like we get a crazy like fever dream of a scene where they get like so there's all these creatures encased in ice around like right before this like
big
ritual thing. So they get this block of ice that is his dad.
a big blender, dog. He literally got turned into a smoothie.
Right, so they put the chunk of ice with giant King Boss in it, put it through a blender.
And the two puppets are there spinning the fucking thing.
Yeah, they blend it up and then use solar energy from a bunch of mirrors inside of the tower to heat it up. The heated up things turns into a chicken.
A golden egg.
It turns into a golden egg. The golden egg hatches immediately, turns into a chicken. They cut off the head of the chicken and then put it.
It was like a big process. Yeah.
Yeah, they get they put it in a chamber where he sticks out her head, cut it, get the head, get the blood of the head, and then inside the chamber they're just like stabbing the shit out of it because inside there's a resurrection core, which I don't know how you come up with these ingredients to get like a resurrection like core. So the core gets put into the blood, and the blood, and the blood, and the thing, and the demon stuff.
You know what reminds me of? It, like, I had read, like, half of the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe books. What are they called? What's the series called? The Chronicles of Narnia? The Chronicles of Narnia. I read, like, half of the Chronicles of Narnia. I remember in some of the books, there were just whole scenes that just felt like that. I'm just like, I had no idea what's going on. They're just saying words right now. And stuff's going on. But, like, to see that animated on screen, I'm just like, I am tripping. Like,
when I saw everything, once I saw like the sludge come out, that's when I was like, oh my god, that was just his father, dude. Like, what the fuck? That was disgusting.
Yeah, so Daida gets he gets asked. Well, he doesn't get asked. He's being persuaded. He's like, oh, drink this. This is how you're gonna get
the powers. Yeah.
And Daida's like, no.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm gonna get my own power. I don't know what this
my
is.
own way.
The whole blender thing was crazy. Drew would have been like, nah.
You know what? I'm good on that.
Absolutely not.
I'm good. Like, I'm chill.
It like Api shows up. The Spear Knight shows up. One of the big four.
Mm-hmm.
And like at first he hears like King Daida struggling, and he's just like, whoa, weird puppet things, get away from the king. And that's when the mirror is like, Apis, it's me. Miranjo. And they just keep saying Miranjo, and me as an audience member, I'm like, I don't know who Miranjo is. What is going on? Yeah. And Apis is like, Miranjo, it is I, Miranjo.
Lady Miranjo?
Yeah. It felt like Voldemort. Like,
yeah,
Voldemort,
exactly.
Everybody knows Voldemort. It's like, who the fuck is Voldemort?
That's how it felt. That's seriously how it felt. And Apis is like, I understand. Knocks out King Daida and just like karate chops him in the neck. And then like they tie him to the chair and just still force feed him like his dad.
Which is disgusting and fucked up. I was like, yo, that's torturous.
And then they say an incantation, and then here comes King Boss again.
King Boss overtook King Daida.
King Daida's body,
and it's kind of scary. It's kind of scary. Mental.
It was a very dark scene
transformation.
for like this lighthearted shit that we've been seeing
because
so far.
Daida also gets caught into like the subconscious of his own mind and his
He's
Like
stuck
a
in his own
void.
matrix.
Yeah, it's like a void.
yeah, it's wild. He's just like scared shitless too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he realizes that he's done something wrong.
And the,
Yeah,
like,
he realizes he fucked up.
and that's what scares the shit out of Domas, because like Domas shows up with one hand, no Boji. Queen Hilda's freaking the fuck out,
Mm-hmm.
and then like they see
Healing.
What did I say?
Hilda.
Yeah.
I knew HIL something.
I was like,
Queen,
who's Hilda?
Queen Healing. It like King Boss inside of King Daida's body. The only thing that differentiates them is now King Daida's like strong enough to carry like a giant wooden mallet
Club.
Not club, like
yeah.
just a big piece of wood, right?
Captain Capon kind
Very,
of style.
very ogre.
Yeah, exactly. Because King Boss was a giant, right?
He was a giant. Yeah.
And that's where they scare off Hokuto and Domas, and they kind of just exile them into the woods. But that's when Queen Healing is like, "What the fuck is wrong with King Daida? Like, that's not my son."
Yeah, because the way he's sitting there and everything, he's just like, yo, he looked like the king from Attack on Titan. You know, how he was just kind of chill, just like a shill of a person, just kind of just there. That's what to me, that's what it kind of looked like.
And he's like, "It is me." Grabs his fucking club and he's like, "Urgh," and presses into a diamond.
Yeah,
Crushes it, condenses it like so hard. Yeah,
And like, "It is me." And he's like, "Oh shit, it is King Boss." And really fast, like
I know, like
curse of events.
like the middle of the season is kind of hard to follow. Like, it's good, and like it's because everybody's motivations flip like 10 times near the end. Like all of a sudden, we start feeling empathetic towards Queen Healing because like her son's essentially been kidnapped inside of his own body
by his own man,
by
Just died
by
by
her
his own-
husband
yeah,
who
last week.
died last week.
yeah.
And not only that, King Boss is now like not even acknowledging Queen Healing and is now speaking entirely to a woman that lives inside of a mirror.
Miranja.
Queen, like Lady Miranja, and like Lady Miranja, Miranjo and King Boss inside of King Daida have scenes where like they're dancing together and they almost seem like they're in love.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Especially their dialogue too, the way they speak to each other, it gives you a sense of like,
right,
he just likes them.
and then what's the name of the other top 4 that we haven't talked about? The strong one.
Yeah,
Dorsey or whatever his name is.
Dorsha.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the bald guy, right?
Dorsha,
Yeah.
yeah. So then Dorsha, who's the queen's like personal
I think he's
bodyguard,
like
almost gets in a full blown fight with Apis, the spear guy,
Mm-hmm.
in like because Apis is now aligned with Lady Miranja. He also almost killed the snake guy.
Bevin.
He almost
Bevin?
killed Bevin too.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm just like there was a point for like 4 episodes I'm like I have no idea like what's going on. Like I have no idea. Like honestly for like half the anime until like the very last episode I had no idea what King Boss actually wanted. I had no idea what Lady Miranja actually wanted. I had no idea what Apis actually wanted. I was super lost for like a minute.
It's because they don't tell you. Well, a lot of these, the ones that you're saying, they don't tell you until like the very end.
Yeah.
The very end, what the whole motivation was.
Like I get it was on purpose, but like
Yeah.
it's infuriating to watch.
It's
It's
just
like,
like,
why is he doing that? Like
Later on,
like for
it's
like
the
for like
reward is
12
good.
episodes, I'm like, why? Like
Yeah.
Once you learn why, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But fuck, man,
'Cause
I was so mad.
from my understanding, the King Boss didn't want to leave Marisha feeling the way she was feeling, right? She was like
he basically lived his whole life for Miranja.
correct to like rescue her from like this past that she'd had and all this resentment that has grown in her and stuff. So that's what I thought he was like his motivation.
Well, that's
I thought
not
they were
explained
trying-
until like
I
the
thought
second
they
to
were-
last episode,
correct,
though.
I
Yeah,
thought
yeah,
they
yeah.
were trying to,
That's what I
bully,
thought.
yeah.
I thought he was in love with the lady in
Yeah,
the mirror.
I thought-
That's
yeah.
what I thought.
Yeah.
I was like,
I thought the girl was just a hating ass bitch, and she was trying to take her man. I was
yeah,
like, yo,
like
what's
maybe,
going on?
like
Yeah.
maybe King Boss was being mind controlled by the bitch in the mirror or something.
I was
and
like,
she
yo,
wanted to
why
use
she-
his strength.
Because it is at this point when we learned that Mirajo killed Boji's mom.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Well, is this hold on? Because watching it week to week, I was watching it in the sub, and there was the scene where what's his name? Daida is screaming in like the void area,
Mhm.
and then like you know how the mom can like somewhat kind of hear him. So like every so often she's kind of hearing his voice. Dude, the voice acting in that scene was so like intense and good. Apparently, that all the other voice actors in the scene wanted to redo it because the one that was doing for Daida, the voice actor for Daida, was like so intense and so good. They were like, okay, we'll do it to match how good his was because
Like
they
he
were
was
like,
screaming for his
yeah,
mom.
dude, like,
because
bro, it was
because all of a
that
sudden
shit
he's
was-
a kid again. Like
Yeah,
he's
dude.
trapped and he's screaming for his mom.
Dude, that scene hit so hard. I was like, yo, I felt really bad for him. I was like, yo, that fucking sucks. Because that's for sure now. And it's crazy because you especially feel more for him because like, he had that realization of how Aldo was saying. He was just like, no, I'm going to get the power my own way. Like, fuck that. This is weird.
Yo, before I forget,
Yeah.
before I forget, since you brought up voice acting, did you hear the issue with Crunchyroll and their voice actors?
No, what happened?
So, like,
Another issue?
they redid the entire dubbing cast for Mob Psycho season 3, for Mob Psycho 100 season 3 for the English dub, because like apparently the Mob's voice actor asked if part of his contract, he was like, yo, you guys can pay me less, but like part of my contract, I want to be supported by my union, by my voice acting union. They told him no, and they were already only paying him like $40 an episode. It's like a week's worth of work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like all these other voice actors that have worked for Crunchyroll, this was like Wednesday or Thursday of last week, went on Twitter and all started like posting like they're just the way like
How
they
shitty it is?
basically work for free.
Damn.
They essentially work for free, and like Crunchyroll like just gives them like the name on the credits and that's it, and they're getting like $40.
It's basically like exposure.
Yeah, exactly, and they're not making any money from it.
That's wild.
So like now everyone's trying to be like, don't watch the Mob
Don't
Psycho
watch
season
it.
3 dub, or like they're actively campaigning to other voice actors that have worked with Crunchyroll before or different anime before, being like, don't do it,
Let's try to make a change.
don't do it. Like pressure them to hire him back.
Mhm.
Like all he wanted was to be supported by a union, and he didn't want to get paid more.
I mean, to be fair, some of these people are like, if they were more well known, like if people actually put the face to the voice, some of these people would be famous, like someone like regular actors that we see.
I just think it's crazy every which way the anime industry gets away with not paying people. Like we understand, like even Ranking of Kings wasn't even like the biggest anime at the time. You know that made tens of millions of dollars.
Hell yeah!
You mean to tell me Crunchyroll can't afford to spend like what $50,000 to dub something properly?
And the fact that Boji is like a little chibi character, bro, that's marketing right there. That's the same reason
That's
they do with
bullshit.
Chopper and like
it's
in
a
certain things.
it's a
do that.
Crunchyroll original.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, how the fucking
In the course of this weekend, I sent you a picture of Don Cuco.
Mhm.
Don Cuco had a banner. Don Cuco's a taqueria here local to El Paso, and he had a banner that had like all your benefits as an employee: 401k, paid vacation, extra paid vacation according to your tenure there, insurance, your birthday off, like a lot of things that you're like, yeah, it's like, and when you hear companies this big not paying, it's like, wouldn't that be the
Yeah.
first thing you check, like to see if people are getting
paid.
yeah, because how can they not get in trouble for this shit?
It's because
Yeah.
it's like the Uber thing. They're treating them like contractors.
Yeah,
Fuck
it's
them.
like yeah, it's basically like you signed the dotted line and that's what you agreed to get paid.
I remember a company that I worked for a hotel line in Las Vegas. They wanted to make us like agents, like hire as agents instead of employees for a company.
Yeah.
And I was just like, nah, fuck that.
Nah, I get it.
No,
Anyways, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I was just thinking about that a lot
Mhm.
this week, and
No,
especially since we just finished watching Mob Psycho season
No,
2.
you
I was
nice.
like, Jesus, God, this sucks so bad.
well, I don't mean to get off topic again, but that's what's going on with Twitch right now too. Like they're switching their main
They're paying people
streamers
less.
contracts. Yeah, it's instead of going from like the 70-30 split, it's now going to 50-50, so people make less money.
Well,
It fucking sucks.
well, apparently YouTube's the only one that pays like best.
Yeah, I think
Like
that
like
YouTube's-
TikTok gets like shit on a lot. Like they pay 10 to 90.
yeah, that's ridiculous.
Mhm.
You don't get shit. No, but I think YouTube's mandatory. Every contractor gets 70-30 split. I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
70-30.
and Twitch is trying to do less than 70.
Yeah, it's like that's crazy. Like you guys, I think they're the number one streaming platform right now, and like, how the fuck did you not able to?
what is Twitch's capital? They maintain servers.
Yeah, so it's
like,
like,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's-
Like you maintain servers and a platform. Like that's it.
And they're doing a terrible job at it. If you ask me.
They don't even manage it.
Yeah, I think it's because they have too many like big corporate names and not enough engineers running that fucking.
Isn't
thing
it
to
owned
do
by
it,
like
actually.
fucking Google?
But if G Fuel wants to give
No,
them
it's
their
owned
money-
by Microsoft.
I think it's owned by
Microsoft.
Microsoft.
Twitch is owned by Microsoft.
Yeah, because don't they have the whole Amazon Prime shit and all
Yeah,
that? So
yeah.
that's partnered with.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
Android.
G Fuel.
But yeah, G Fuel. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you're
I was
listening.
drinking a Red Bull earlier. I hate Red Bull. I would
Right.
love to just get handed G
that
Fuel.
that could be a G Fuel.
right?
Just see your can.
Bro, all this could be G Fuels.
Yeah.
We'll
G Fuel
replace CJ with just like
But
G
one
Fuel.
big,
board.
one big.
Just
G
one
Fuel.
big G Fuel
Call-
mascot.
call-
Yeah, just there
We'll
it is.
change the YouTube to Between G Fuel.
Right.
Have a guy in the can suit just like
Yeah,
The whole time.
keep dancing, G Fuel, man.
Just get a wacky inflatable G Fuel, man. That's all you need.
What are we talking?
Back
Anyway,
to the-
so
yeah, back
Boji's
to-
also trying to meet the king of the underworld because Kage. So like all that crazy shit's going on with like King Boss overtaking King Daida and like I don't know what's going on. Okay, so we're back to our regularly
We'll be back,
scheduled
yeah,
adventure.
yeah.
I have no idea what's going on in the kingdom, but like so they meet. They knock out inside of like a poison gas chamber because it's a volcano, right? So
Mhm.
there's like sulfuric gas coming out of it. So like they get trapped, they get knocked out. The head knights of the demon
underworld,
world of
yeah.
the underworld find them, take them to the demon king, and Kage wakes up. He's like, "Oh, are you King Des something? I have a letter from the queen that said that you have to train Boji."
Mhm.
And to show Boji what Boji's worth, like Boji has to fight like the king of the
Captain.
underworld, the captain of the underworld's guard,
Mhm.
and like again, like Boji's like super badass at dodging, but again, he can't hurt
Can't hurt.
somebody, and especially the way they animate like the underworld knights is like they're in just giant gold armor, but
Armor,
like these
yeah.
little chicken legs.
Yeah.
It-
They make me think of Castle Crashers. You ever play the game?
Yeah, it
They make
reminded
you
me-
feel like
yeah,
that,
it's
I
exactly-
was
it's
like,
the
yo,
Castle
these guys
Crashers
are
design.
goofy.
and it feels kind of weird because correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't like the king order the captain of the underworld guard to fight to spar with Boji,
Mhm.
but then they spar a different way, and then Kage is like, hey, just don't let him hit you because he was still caught up about what Damas had said to him.
Oh, that
Yeah.
that
You know?
it's not nightly to fight like that.
Correct. So he was like receiving blows from the captain, and he's doing all right, but you know he's getting his abs boot. Yeah.
He can't parry anything because he has
Yeah.
no physical strength either.
Mhm.
Yes.
Which is like that's supposed to be the nightly way, but like Boji physically can't
Can't
parry
do it,
anything. So then like he gets into the rhythm of dodging, like he gets over that little stigma thanks to Kage, and like that's when King what's his name? He's King Desha.
Desha. There you
King
go.
Desha is like, give me that letter. Who the fuck is this
Yeah,
kid?
let me see.
And then like he starts yelling at Kage. He's like, "Did you read this letter first? This is the wrong Des something." He's like, "What do you mean? This is."
First-
He just rips it up, kicks them out, and it's the captain of the underworld knights that explains to them, like picks up the pieces of paper. It's like, "Hey, you probably should have read this letter first. It's not to Desha, it's to
So his-
Despa."
His brother, right?
Yeah, and like what you need to know about Despa is like they're brothers, but like Desha absolutely hates
him,
Despa,
yeah.
so that's why he doesn't want to help
And
you.
he's like, "You piece of shit." He's like, "You read." He's like, "Oh yeah, I can see why he would have." I would have torn that shit up too. It's like, motherfucker, you guys got the wrong brother, man.
So, yeah, exactly. Like, how dare you get?
Yeah, it's like,
Me,
how dare
the
you
king?
confuse me
You
with,
confuse me with my
that
dumbass
lonely,
brother.
Yeah, you confuse me with him. Like, man, fuck you guys.
So they go get trained by Despa.
Which
Yeah.
was his voice actor, Chris Abbott. That's one. Voice of Vegeta.
That's tight.
Oh,
Voice of Zoro from One Piece in the English dub.
true.
He always voices like badass swordsman too, which is kind of funny.
No, and we right here we get the explanation of Boji's like physiology too, because Boji's like, all right, well, I mean, I'm sorry, Despa's like, all right, Boji, it's like you are useless, you can't do anything, you take a lot of damage, you're super tiny, you can't pick up anything. Okay, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna get up, we're gonna train. It's like we're gonna do this. So Boji, being proactive, he gets up really early up next day and wants to cook breakfast.
Before we get too far from there, what I forgot is that Desha is the first one to say that both Boji and Kage are cursed.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
because
don't remember that.
it's when he first sees them and they first get introduced to him. He just has demon vision. I don't know, and could just like by looking at them being like, that's interesting. They both have curses.
Oh, I remember that.
One is a giant, but all his strength is being
He's
sapped
gone.
away, and the other one is cursed with bad luck.
I remember.
And he doesn't tell them that.
I
But
remember
us
that.
as an audience, we're like, what?
Damn,
He's
you
a gi-
remember like
He
that
is a
shit.
giant. What?
Yeah, it's like a reminder.
Yeah,
like,
he
oh
uplives.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
uplifts
yeah.
like his dad was a fucking giant. What the
It's
fuck?
like, so what did happen to him? Yeah, you're like, wait a minute. What happened? And then it clicks. That's what the demon was laughing about
Yeah.
earlier.
Yeah.
Woo, man, the writing in the show is really
Yeah, because he was almost laughing at him. He was almost
he was
like,
just like, ah, like sucker.
Yeah.
Like, I know what's wrong with you, but
Wow.
nobody else does.
Yeah.
Des was hilarious though.
He
But,
is
like,
Des was
We're
funny.
talking about like if this is Boji, and I hope you can see this on the screen, and like this is like somebody like Doma's Dorsha or like the spear guy, like his dad and his mom are like
The
microphone high.
Okay, for our listening audience, Aldo is describing Boji being like the size of a pinky, like a half size of a pinky, but then like our Yeti blue mics are about the height of like what
His
King
parents.
Boss was.
King Boss,
And his
Yeah.
mother was.
yeah, as giants
For
Yeah.
scale, if you're wondering.
for scale, exactly.
No, but it's animated really crazy. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Anyways, Despa.
Despa. With the training arc.
He's stupid looking too. He's just so funny, like his
Goofy.
character design, because he's the son. No, he's the brother of the king of the underworld. So you expect him to be like a demon, and he's just a normal human. And he's just got like goofy, like twirly mustache and blonde hair and puffy pants
Three
and
Musketeers.
Really vain.
Three Musketeers ish,
Mhm.
like a joke, like really vain. Like he doesn't even he receives the letter, reads it, and doesn't agree to train Boji right away. It's not until we get a little bit more of Kage's backstory and explaining like how he kind of killed the guy that had raised him, because the guy that had raised Kage, after using him to like steal jewelry from rich people and jewelry and money and stuff like that, he found out that there was a reward for turning in like members of the Shadow Clan. So he sold out Kage, even though he had raised him essentially. And then he's a fucking dickhead. So Kage followed him to the bar that night after he sold him out. Kind of like watched him get into a fight and get stabbed in the stomach because he was just a drunk bully and he was big and tried to like jump somebody that's smaller than him, just wanted to get in a fight because he kind of felt guilty that he had like sold out Kage. But the little dude like pulls out a knife, stabs him in the gut, and just like leaves him there to die kind of. So like the last thing he saw dying on like the bar floor is Kage hiding as like a baby under the shade, and like kind of reaches out his hand, remembering when he used to hold his hand at night. Again, like I'm so tired of this anime trying to make me fucking cry.
And it's like you're not gonna make me sad for this asshole of a guy.
Stop.
Yeah.
So then, like Kage went back to his room that night and took all the jewelry that he had basically stolen from him, and that's where it brings us to the Despa scene, where Kage, being a good guy and being like, Boji's really my boy, I told him I was going to be there for him, just takes out all the rich people clothes that he stole from Boji, chests of gold, chests of like jewelry, and just like, here, is this enough payment? And he gave him the payment that that Bebin had. That Bebin had given Kage as payment for Despa to train Boji. So like, Kage #1 like Boji fan club, you know what I mean? Like
he's Bartholomew.
That's his dog.
Well earned too, because I mean it just seems like not a super cheap way of giving you a psychic. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, Despa being like super vain and stuff like that, and at the end telling him, okay, we're gonna do this. Oh, that's what I was describing. Boji gets up in the morning, being proactive about his training, and he cooks breakfast with whole eggshell and all, full vegetables and full like dirt, whatever he found in the kitchen, not a lot of
Nutrients,
salt,
man. Nutrients.
and he makes this concoction, which at first it seems like cool because there's like all this sparkly animated around it, and he's trying it and he
purple.
loves it. Yeah, and it's just sludge. So
makes me think of like in Zelda, you know, you make like a shitty ass meal and it's just like that sludge bomb, and you're like, oh, like, that's exactly what I thought of.
So Despa and Kage are like, oh, dude, what are you doing? Like, what died over here? Gets to they get to the table. She's like, oh well, he likes it. It must be good. And they try and they almost get poisoned.
Yeah,
and that's where Despa's like, yo, dude, your dude is
he's a giant.
He's a giant.
He's a giant.
Like,
Giants can eat dirt. They can
like,
eat mountains.
Indestructible.
There's some, and that's when we start getting the actual King Boss flashbacks. Like it's starting right then, where it's just like Despa being like, so we've been getting a lot of like B and C plot cuts. You know what I mean? Like I was describing whatever's going on at the castle and whatever's going on with Boji, right? Right here it switches up. It's like it starts switching between the King Boss flashback and Boji's training. So that's where we get the scene Aldo was talking about, where Despa takes Boji into like his room of weapons. It's just like, pick anything, whichever one calls to you, bro, and we'll train him. And then like, so we get like the secret behind closed doors, even Kage can't see how Boji's being trained scenes. But then we get King Boss's backstory, and like it makes me kind of hate King Boss even more,
right? Yeah, because I'm just like, wow, this guy's kind of like a dickhead.
Yeah.
Just like the worst person.
Throughout his whole life, just dickheading around.
Like King Boss was a giant. He was strong for even a giant, but he had his limits. You know what I mean? Like he was mortal. He wasn't like he was above average strength, but like he couldn't defeat a whole platoon of ogres by himself or something like that. And then eventually, what he found was again, it reminds me a lot. There's like a lot of like Holocaust almost symbolism, because he finds a minority group of people that are blamed for all the problems in like a given country or continent, right?
They're a mage world, a mage village.
Because they're a mage village, exactly. In like King Boss, before he was getting, just when he was boss. So young Boss had fought a masterclass mage, which ended up being the father of this girl Miranjo, that he essentially like raised. Like I think Boss starts the story being like, I don't know who Miranjo is to me, but she's kind of like my adopted daughter.
Well, no, it's not Miranjo. It's Miranjo's mom.
The one that's like really charitable.
Right.
That's
But like when Boss describes Miranjo, he describes her as like kind of like his adopted daughter or like a sister almost.
Correct, but I think the girl that you're talking about, the mage dad, isn't that the? Oh yeah, you're right.
It's Miranjo's dad and Miranjo's mom's husband.
Correct. Yeah. He takes in both, right? At some point.
Right. So like they battle to the death because, you know, King Boss is just like a young guy trying to prove himself amongst the ranking kings. His only goal in life was to be the strongest man in the world. So he would challenge anybody to fight to the death. And like he kills Miranjo's dad, and Miranjo's mom heals King Boss from like his mortal wounds, because he would have bled out anyways, because like Miranjo's dad was actually a badass mage.
Yeah.
So like King Boss kind of like, you know, to make up for that, like kind of supports them and like travels with them, and like this small minority group of people, you know, they like emigrate across the country, so they're treated like gypsies in Europe, kind of is how I'm describing it. Like a different religious system, but like we're seen as like the other. Yeah, Romanians were seen as like the others inside of Europe, to a point that like while there's a day that Boss is out like adventuring, hunting, whatever, and like the village that Miranjo and her mom were living in, they like just all went crazy manic and started blaming all of the country's problems on this minority group. And just like Kage, the scenes that we saw in like episode 2, episode 3, they just slaughter all of them just in the middle of the street with smiles on their faces, being like, this is going to be so good for us. They like Boss comes back, and Miranjo's like tied to a pole in the middle of the city with like her face skewered off, her hands are cut off, and like she is mutilated, like severely crazy mutilated. And we're also seeing this from the point of view of Prince Daida inside of his psychosis, seeing a crying girl who, and he's seeing like Miranjo's memories. While his body's being controlled by King Boss. So then like rightfully so, King Boss goes crazy and murders this entire village for mutilating this girl. And that's where I think that's kind of like, I can't remember how it exactly happens, but that's when they befriend the devil. Because at one point when Miranjo and her mom were traveling with Boss, Miranjo found a baby demon that was being attacked by something. It reminded me of the Boji getting attacked by snake scene.
Isn't it like eating
or he
something?
needed
No,
food.
he was eating like a dead like horse or something like
and
that.
She gave him food.
She was just like, "Hey, my name's Miranjo," and then he was just like, "Oh shit," and he just like fucking dipped, and she was like, "Oh damn it."
Well,
so she was chasing him. Yeah, I think she does give him.
She fed him. She saved him.
Yeah.
So that's why like
they get like a little close.
They get close, and that's why when Boss finds Miranjo mutilated, he goes to that demon's lair. like underground.
I think he takes Miranda to another wizard and takes her scrap parts that were on the floor, and gives it like, hey, do whatever you can with this girl to fix her. I think they grew up a little bit because I don't think Miranjo had told the young boss
About the demon yet?
about the demon yet.
Okay.
And it wasn't until like they learned. It wasn't until like Miranjo got to know the king. Was like, man, he wants to be the biggest and baddest.
Oh, that's right.
You're right. You're right. So
Yeah.
she got healed by somebody else in a different village after
Correct.
Boss had killed everybody.
Correct.
And like that's basically like his first daughter.
Mhm.
Like he raises her, and she does his laundry. She cooks for them, and
I
like
used
Boss
to
still
really
has the
guilty.
singular mission of just like challenging everybody because he wants to prove himself as the strongest.
Yeah, and Miranjo is like, I'm holding him back,
Uh-huh.
so I'm just gonna take him to my friend.
Well, he almost dies because he challenges like that
Ah.
three-eyed king,
True.
and Boss almost dies, and she finds him like drowning in the lake,
Oh,
like
yeah,
just
yeah.
bleeding out, and that's where she gets that like I gotta help him.
Mhm.
So she remembers that she helped that demon later, like in
Mhm.
a few years back.
Yes, but also it makes me think because the demon said at one point later on towards the end, Miranjo says, the demon friend says to Miranjo is like, the more wishes I grant, I'm gonna get more devilish. But at this point, the thing's already devilish.
Yeah.
Or was he just
Well, it's
taking
like
that
he's
form?
like a cute little chibi devil.
No. I'm talking about the time that Miranjo took Boss there first.
Oh no! Yeah, when she takes him
Yeah.
to the first, he was already like
Yeah.
fucking twisted.
Yeah.
looking.
So like you're being told that she's gone through a lot of wishes before,
Yeah.
right?
Well, yes and no. I think it's more like the weight of Boss's wish was that much because like they go to the
Okay,
demon,
that makes sense.
they go underground, and Boss is like, I want to be the world's strongest person, and nobody can beat me. And the demon's like, ho, 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 ho. And he's speaking like Latin or something,
he's
like
speaking some
Misha,
weird shit.
Musha, like he basically makes him a deal. And
Jabba
he-
the Hutt style.
Yeah, Jabba the Hutt style. He basically makes him a deal. He's like, to be the strongest man, I need you to have a kid with the world's strongest woman, and then I'm going to steal the strength of your firstborn son.
And give it to you.
Boo, 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 that's Boji.
Yeah.
So that's how like King Boss met Boji's mom. Is he just found out by hearsay that there was a giant woman that was beating the shit out of people, and like King Boss challenged that giant woman to a fight to prove his strength, and then they had a kid.
Yeah, he took
Right.
like 100 steps to the other corner of the world, and met like another big.
What you think? Is it a good message to send kids like you beat a woman into submission? That's pretty. Because I mean, she basically submitted to him. After
Well,
he
it was
got her ass whooped.
she made it seem like it was a warrior culture kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Like
you
the
know
type
what I
of thing
mean?
she was like, "Oh man, you're strong enough to kick
Well,
my ass."
well-
Like I gotta have.
Well,
your
she
raise.
said no man had ever beaten her before.
Mhm.
So like even amongst giants, she was a bad bitch. So like she was like, you can challenge me if you want, bro. No,
But-
none of the guys from my village could ever beat me.
But
You
still,
think
though,
you can
she
beat
was
me?
that's all it took for her to submit was just one man to beat her ass.
The-
Like, that's crazy.
The scene where Boji's born makes me really, really sad
Yeah.
because like the mom's having like a hard childbirth, even though like Boji's born like that big, like bean sized.
You would think he would
to
just
it-
like walk out that shit.
But like we're getting juxtaposed between like I keep saying juxtaposed, but like we keep getting split scenes between like Boji's mom like giving birth and King Boss like trying to fight ogres, and he's like getting stabbed and beaten and like and then like he thinks he's about to die, and then all of a sudden he just gets this surge of power, just flexes his muscles, all the spears pop out, and just like beats all the ogres, and he's like. I don't think he says anything, but us as an audience, or the feeling I got is just like it happened, and
Yeah,
he runs straight home. He's just like, "Show me him," and then like Boji's mom's there, and just like he's so little, like, he's healthy, but he's so little, and that's where we get the scene that you kind of alluded to earlier, where like Boss is guilty. Like
yeah,
the
he's
second he sees Boji, he's like, "I fucking did that
Yeah.
for a selfish ass reason because I wanted to be the strongest."
I think it shows too because remember when after he beats the Third Eye King, he even says to himself, he's just like, "Yo, what happened to that drive that I had?" He's like, "It vanished away." Because yeah, bro, you fucking cheated, that shit.
And to his motivations, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if you know that he felt guilty because again, the humility of the royal family wasn't like your typical royal dickhole family. They helped their villagers and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So he feels like he was just trying to buy himself into heaven because he even knighted Boji as king before he died.
Yeah.
You know,
Like in like the second he becomes the strongest and comes back and Boji's born, he like jumps up to the hill in his village where he's gonna lay his castle. He's like, people, from here on out, I'm gonna protect you, and this is gonna be the boss kingdom. And they're all happy. They're like, okay, cool, super strong giant man's gonna protect us. We got this.
I was just about to ask that. I was like, because I couldn't remember if he already had the kingdom before Boji was born, or the kingdom came out. So
he established it the day Boji was born.
Okay, so that makes you think he established the kingdom because he wanted a kingdom, or was it all to protect Boji because he knew Boji couldn't do anything?
I don't know, man.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
That was such a that was crazy motives.
Yeah, because again, what episode are we in? We're like episode 10, maybe.
I believe 10. Yeah. Well,
10, 11?
This might be 9 because I
No,
think 10
it's-
is when he gets his he masters like because they go into
It's
that
like-
bar fight.
It's like 14, 15.
No, because we haven't
Yeah?
gotten to the he hasn't gotten his weapon yet.
It don't matter.
You know,
It don't matter.
don't
Like,
matter,
but
but-
what we did see Kage behind closed doors. No, we know that he did get his weapon, and we saw Boji behind the crack in the door destroy a giant rock,
Mm-hmm.
like a regular person sized rock,
Which
like
that's
a big
what-
old boulder.
Basically explains that he uses if you ever seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, what's that one chick that does the pressure points? Which is able to,
Yeah,
knock you
like
out?
Boji just attacks on pressure points. It's like it reminded me of Demon Slayer. How like in Demon Slayer they see the string,
Okay, yeah,
they
yeah,
see
you're
the
able to cut
weakness. Like that's essentially like what Boji was taught. So he's given a rapier.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a poking weapon. He doesn't.
Which is cool
he
because it
doesn't
comes out of this big ass looking
it's a
hilt.
French.
Yeah.
It's a French weapon.
Oh, remember when he thought a
Shut
rapier was he thought you were a raper? And he's like, I'm not a rapier. He's like, I'm not a raper.
Oh yeah. But yeah, what is the Olympic sport? You even mentioned it earlier. Where's the Olympic fencing? There you go.
Yeah. It's essentially so like it's about like Boji beats people by like pointing out their weaknesses.
And like the way also Depas.
Despa.
Well, he
Despa-
concusses them, doesn't he? He like basically cuts the circulation off, and you basically like knocks you out.
Well, Despa described it a little bit weird. Even more, it reminded me of the Matrix. Like he was able to see, like the he was
Like
like
anatomy?
that. Like Despa's able to see like the behinds of everything. And he was explaining as like you can sometimes see atoms not being really together, like in somebody's
okay.
armor
Mhm.
or in somebody's sword or in somebody's like this. So that like he teaches them he teaches them essentially
It's fucking
like,
future sight hockey.
like
acupuncture,
observation.
acupuncture,
Mhm.
and this is what he's doing with his rapier.
Rapier.
Raper.
That syllable will get you in trouble.
Yeah, that's what he does with his raper. Yo, he's a child.
So like to prove their worth, or not even to prove their worth, to celebrate, they go out to the pub that night to get a cool meal on Despa, right?
Mm-hmm.
Despa gets jumped. And like to his rescue comes like little Prince Boji. And us as an audience, I'm just like, I'm so excited to see this right now.
Mhm.
Like, you've been talking about Boji training for like 3-4 episodes. He's got this tiny little rapier. I don't know what he's gonna do with it. This is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, right. Something good's gonna happen.
And like he just keeps beating this big old ogre. Like he's like the big ogre like
Doesn't he-
stumbles over himself.
Doesn't he
and-
hit him with like a little tiny little
Little tap.
on the chin, and he's just like, and then that's when Despo's like, yeah, he's using his momentum against him, and it's like, bro, this
He
kid's
knocks
so
him out,
fucking-
like, he
yeah,
gets-
he's like,
it-
bro, it's so cool.
It's it's exactly like that. That's exactly how I understood it too. Like how like sometimes you just see like those boxers even like in the room before walking up to the ring, just like slapping themselves on the chin, slapping themselves on the chin, and then sometimes like it's not even like the big punch that gets you. It's like
It's just
boop.
like the
Oh my
little,
God.
the little tiny, right? All you need is one little tap on the chin, and to me, it makes me think of, remember on Haikyuu when they have that perfect shot, how it like glows a little bit. Like
Yeah.
that's what I thought it too. He's just like, oh, I see it. He's able to tap him. Oh, that was. I think that's dope, especially for Boji, considering how we said before he's like a handicapped kid. So it's like, oh, it's fucking tight ass.
Yeah. So it turns out that those ogres were hired by Despa to like, you know, it's like proving that he graduated, like that he can really fight. And it was the members of the underground knights, of his brother's knights.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
And
And
they're orcs, right? They're like orcs.
they were like orcs
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah, because he's the most beautiful of his people.
Right.
Yeah, that's why he.
Despa is.
Yeah, Despa is. That's one of his joking thing that all his brothers are kind of ghoulish.
That's right.
We're also getting like these Miranjo scenes because like at the tail end of like King Boss's flashback, we realize let's explain the reason that he's doing everything right now, why he's controlling King Daida, why he's trying to get his current wife Healing killed, is for Miranjo,
Mhm.
because like Miranjo is so obsessed with King Daida
And being at
and
his
like
side.
him being the strongest,
Mhm.
that she is like summoning monsters from the underworld in like a portal she has underneath the castle
Mhm.
to try to attack Queen Healing, because she's now convinced herself that the king caring about his wife, like Queen Healing, is keeping him from his potential to be like the world's strongest. So that's where we get like this crazy scene between like what's his name again, the
Dorsha.
Dorsha, and he fights like three like chimera looking wolf lion things as they try to attack the queen.
I think a cool thing also is because there was originally 4, right? I think how you were saying earlier, because of the king's love still for Queen Healing, I think he sabotages that moment, that fight too. Because remember, like, what we're about to get to later is
Well,
when
he
Dorsha's
warns
fighting.
Dorsha too.
Well, yeah, because he remember when he's testing the dogs and he ends up like just killing the shit out of one. So like later on in the fight when Dorsha's fighting these like demon Cerberus dogs, but whatever the fuck they are, obviously he's getting his ass whooped. If there were 4, he would have been
died
dead.
for
Yeah,
sure.
he would have been fucking dead.
But like still like I hate King Boss because it's like he's doing all these half measures.
Mhm.
Like
He's
like,
doing both sides.
he desperately wants, like, he feels so guilty about Miranjo being mutilated and her mom being murdered in front of her that he'll do anything for her, essentially, no matter how batshit crazy like her idea is. Miranjo thinks she's doing it selflessly too, because she's like, I'm just doing this for King Boss. Like, King Boss needs to be the king of all kings, the ranking of kings #1. And like Queen Healing, you both feel for her as a mother because she's like, dude, my son was essentially kidnapped by his father, and now that same father's mistress, she doesn't know who the fuck Miranjo
Right.
is.
Yeah.
Like my husband's mistress that lives inside of a mirror can summon demons, and now these demons are trying to kill me.
And has
fucking
led my
husband.
son to give up his body to my old husband.
Exactly. Like what?
To her dead husband.
To her dead
Like, you know what I
husband?
mean? So it's like, what the fuck is going on?
This Dorsha fight might be my favorite fight though. Like, because like
Yeah, it was badass.
it's just like the Hulk versus, like, remember the first Hulk movie
Yes.
when those like mutant dogs fight him in the woods?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it reminded
looks
me
like.
of. That's
I always think about that part for some reason.
that's lit because it's a super
The
badass
same
scene. What do you
thing,
mean? But it reminded me of this fight scene with Dorsha a lot. Like he just fights with like shields on his hands, like
Yeah.
little wooden shields on his hands, and he's just ginormous and just big and Hulk.
Makes me think of TJ Combo if you've ever played Killer Instinct.
Nope, never.
It's the black dude that. Anyways, he's like Mike. He's modeled after like Mike Tyson in the game.
Well, it's crazy because he kind of like almost sacrifices his own life. Like he's down to die. Like he's too slow with armor on to fight these wolves properly, or these lion chimera things properly.
And then we get his flashbacks.
Yeah, then
Yeah,
we get
then
to
we get
his
his
flashback.
flashback.
And like and how he felt like belittled by going from one of the top 4 that protected the king to going to protect the queen.
Correct. He was like, "Oh, have I
Did I offend
Did
you,
I-
king?
yeah.
have
I
I done
lose my
something wrong?"
staff?
He's like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, what happened that I'm here?" Blah blah blah. And yeah, there's a spot where we're like, well, he introduces to the wife, and this is where we start getting like healing just not being cool with the help, you know, and the king was like, no, dude, I did this because I trust you the most.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, that's my
And-
girl, dude. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think before we find out that Daida is King Boss goes up to Darsha and tells him, "Hey, you gotta really watch my girl tonight, because there's gonna be an attempt to her life."
Yeah.
That's where we get that super fight. And then not only that, he loses his shields, and like he has like this like metal gloves on him, and he's just like starts punching everybody.
Well, it's like one of those like Rock Lee and Naruto scenes where it's just like, oh, this armor's slowing me down, and just like tears it off, and then it's just like more punches, and he starts getting slashed at more because now he doesn't have armor. And it's just like, be more motivated, and just gets bigger,
Stronger.
yeah,
just 'cause
just
he has
stronger,
to.
and just like
It made me think of what's her name? Biscuit from Hunter x Hunter. You know how she just like grows massive. I was like, dude, this guy just got fucking jacked out of nowhere.
exactly.
Oh my god.
And then like he tells the queen to like stay inside her chambers while he just bleeds out outside.
Yeah, he's
and
just-
she's like, fuck that. And
No,
she like
yeah.
pulls him inside of her chambers, and then like again she's good at healing magic. But what we haven't discussed about her using healing magic is I like how they treat treat like the mana system in Ranking of Kings.
Yes, Zelda Ocarina of Time style.
Like it takes something out of you. Like
Yeah,
if
like some
mana is
stamina.
described as your life force, and you're exerting your life force, your mana, to do a healing spell,
It's gonna
and
take
this
something.
and this dude's ginormous and fucked up, and you're like expending all of your energy.
You're a third of his eyes.
Yeah, you're a third of size, and you're spending all your energy to heal the guy. You show her being exhausted. She's like she's like
She's
she's-
had an aneurysm
she just
over.
looks like she sprinted a mile. Just like
It's alchemy, basically. You know how? What do they explain in? What's that one Fullmetal Alchemist? Don't they explain like you have to for one exchange you have to have an
Oh,
even
yeah,
exchange?
yeah, equivalent exchange.
There it is.
Like-
Alchemy. You get everything in
But,
this fucking show.
But I do understand what you're saying. I like how they treat it because at some point she has bags of
of mana potions.
mana
She's
potions.
got like all these
Yeah.
mana
It's
potion
like,
sacks
yeah,
on her.
She's like
Oh, the blue bottles. Yeah,
tailgating
that's just part
with
of
those
it.
beer hats.
And anyway, so we have like a bunch of things going on because like Boji has essentially kind of like graduated, right?
Mhm.
And now he needs to go like figure out what's going on with the people that tried to kill him in his own kingdom. And right then is like, now that we're as an audience okay with Queen healing, we don't want her to die now, but now she's basically a fugitive inside of her own castle.
In her own castle, yeah.
And then we get Apiz's backstory and why he's so like about Lady
Moranjo, yeah.
because like Apiz like basically felt like he couldn't fulfill his duty to the king because he was the weakest of the big four. And it wasn't until like Moranjo basically summoned him and like made him prove his worth and kind of like did some black magic on him and kind
Did
of
she?
it kind of seemed like she half infused him with a beast by making him like metaphorically defeat the beast. So it's like him conquering his demons, but now he's also kind of possessed by black magic.
Yeah.
That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't-
it sounds right.
It was
sounds
it was
right.
left very
Open-ended. Yeah.
open-ended. Like the bare minimum, Lady Moranjo summoned him downstairs where all those frozen monsters are. He almost died trying to defeat one of her demons. And like she just looked down on him, called him a bitch, and then he grew motivation from being called a bitch, defeated the demon, and now he's got super strength.
Yeah, and now he's just like thanks to the dark magic or the dark hold.
Well, like now that he can like fulfill his duty to the king, it's like fulfilling his chivalrous duty, and now he's just like, my worth is because of Lady Moranjo.
He's got like new resolve.
He gave me Android 16 vibes, too.
Why?
Android 16.
Just like the tranquility of his actions all the time.
Oh yeah, like he's always like the silent
Oh,
brooding type in the
big
background.
mohawk guy. Yeah, I was wondering who you were talking
Like, he's the one that breaks up the sparring match in the very beginning
Correct.
because Domas was just gonna let
Lay him
Boji
out,
Boji keep getting his ass beat.
She's all,
And then it-
seizuring up on the floor.
I thought that scene was super cool because
I didn't think the beat up was gonna be so bad.
Oh,
until,
it's
like, the
gory.
next
It's terrible.
episode. Like he has cast like twice the size of his arms and just like
the generic lump on the head.
yeah.
Well, it was also Apis that like gutted Bebin.
Oh, true.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because Bebin was not down with this whole like the king just overtook the other king kind of
Mhm.
thing,
Yeah.
and he was getting dipped out, and Apis was like, "You can't
You
leave,
can't
you can't
leave,
tell
yeah.
anybody." So he kind of like slashes Bebin across the guy, but then like because Bebin's the snake master, the big 3-headed snake saved him.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
Bebin's been just like chilling
Chilling,
underneath the
yeah,
ground with
just-
the big ass snake this
just
whole time.
recovering, yeah, just kind
recovering.
of posted, chilling.
What's going on upstairs, big snake?
Yeah.
Just eating food underground
Right,
inside
he's
the
like,
cave.
he's like, yo, let me know when everything dies down up there.
Yeah, he's like,
I'm
well,
chilling.
Apis is going to go find Boji because Boji is supposed to be the king.
What?
That was
Yeah.
one of his motivation. Before.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. But like Moranjo keeps going more ape shit,
Yeah.
right? So now she's like, well, those Chimera dogs couldn't defeat Queen Healing, so now I have to break out 4 of the strongest demons inside of Underworld Prison. I'm just like,
Like, why?
what?
Yeah,
what?
why?
For
Yeah.
fucking what?
It was like 7 to you. It wasn't just 4.
it was like 5.
5.
It was like 4 or 5.
Because it was the big ogre, the 2 like thief-looking ones, the guy with a broken lip.
It's black. It's
Is it one of them the brother? Or
right. The brother
Oaken or whatever?
Oaken.
Yeah.
It's black Oaken.
Yeah.
Gigan, Red,
Oh, Gigan, yeah, big ass dude.
and Zoku 5.
So,
Oh, okay,
you're
yeah.
right. Okay, yeah, they're 5.
Oh, Zoku's the little fucking the guy that tried to poison them too. He was just like, ha! I take this power.
Moranjo broke out these 5 guys from Underworld Prison, right?
Mhm.
Because like so, the Underworld Knights meet with Boji, at Despa's house, and they're like, Prince Boji, you gotta go home. We're here to take you on our horses, and like we gotta go to your kingdom because like some of the most dangerous underworld like prisoners got out, and they're at your kingdom. And it's crazy because like these like they seem really scary, and they are, but like for different reasons. And like Queen Desha gets involved, and like you kind of think like maybe he's switching allegiances again because he's been kind of neutral and like a little bit helped Boji.
Wishy-washy, yeah.
But he kind of tells like his underworld knights like they have a portal to my underworld underneath their castle. We're gonna go in there and we're gonna get them. And like the word "them" is left very ambiguous. But like yeah, it's very open-ended. So it ends up being that their goal is to kill Lady Miranjo under like any circumstances. But that means that King Boss is not going to let anybody lay hands on Miranjo, even though he knows that she's acting out and being absolutely like psychopathic.
Don't we get that funny scene before he tells Miranjo? Isn't he about to challenge Domas? And then fucking the king just like kicks him in the dick. It's like, bro, that was hilarious. That scene was fucking funny. Because he just tells him, he's just like, he goes up to him and then he stops the club right next to his head. He's like, oh shit. And then he just kicks him in the nuts. And he's like, hey, everybody look, this guy's fucking pathetic. I was like, yo, that's such a dick ass move to do, bro. To me, I was fucking laughing. I was like, yo, this king is, he's like a Moria type. That's what I'm saying. He's like a Moria goofy fucking character, bro.
Oh yeah, man. It at that same time we haven't seen oh god, what's his name, Hokuto and Domas for a while. So basically they got exiled and they've been training until the day that Lord Boji comes back, and they're going to be his personal protectors from here on out because they feel so bad about what Domas basically
self-anointed, by the way, yeah.
but then it's super annoying because like they made such a big deal about Domas chopping off his hand, and the next time we see Domas, he just like has a hand. Yeah. He just has a metal hand, and he's just training, and he's good with a sword again. And I'm just like, what
was the point of him cutting it out?
That's kind of not fair. Like it feels like a narrative cheat.
Yeah,
like
it
a
feels
little
like
bit,
just to fill in, just so like he can be able to protect Boji. And then
because
like,
Dorsha get his whole ass foot shit off, chopped
off.
Yeah, and like he's still like,
and he's missing an eye too now, right?
Oh,
like he gets the fucking eye like scratched off. Like he gets fucked up.
No, absolutely, because basically like these five guys invade the castle from the magical porter in the middle. They're gonna try to kill Queen Hilling. Queen Hilling rides into the castle grounds with like 5 knights with her. She, like her own like personal guard. Dorsha's one of them, and they kind of go like one by one, like kind of narratively like introducing who these characters are. So like 2 of them are black and red. I don't think we really get much of their backstory. We get Zoku, who ends up being kind of like the mastermind behind them. I think they call him like Thief Zoku, Master Assassin, or Master Thief Zoku, or something like that.
He's a goof also.
He's just a goof. And then we get King Bo, who used to be the king of the underworld until Dorsha and his brothers helped take over the underworld. And he's crazy looking because his eyes are like mouths, kind of, or like that's how they're designed. Like his eyelashes look like teeth almost.
Yeah.
So it looks like his eyeballs are mouths.
Like chomping.
Like chomping mouths. But then the most important one ends up being Oken. So we get like this crazy scene on the throne where they're all bad guys, right? So they all kind of like bump heads to be the one that's going to sit on the throne. So would be King Bo sits down and like he kind of like guts Oken, and like he thinks he just killed somebody, and he sits down at the throne. But then Oken, he's just like all in silver armor. What we see is that his blood's like black, and it kind of like fuses his limbs back together, and he's a masochist. Like he's Jeffrey Dahmer. Like he just wants to watch people bleed out. So he just kind of like he stabs like King Bo a few times. King Bo begs for him to die because he's like, just finish the job. And all you see is just Oken with like this crazy like silver mask with like little horns and just like a black sliver for his mouth and just like black slits for his eyes. We don't actually see his eyes or his mouth or anything. He's just breathing and like wheezing at like King Bo just bleeding out on top of like the altar or whatever.
You ever see the show Hey Arnold? It made me think of that one kid that Helga always fucking like knocks out because he's always just like
Oh, yeah,
creepily
'cause he's
staring in
just,
the
like,
background,
and just like breathing.
but he's
asthma
always
stuff.
like interested in her. Shit.
But that's makes Oaken so much creepier, and the rest of them just go along with it. They're
It made
just
me
like,
think-
okay, Oaken's
It makes
crazy.
me think of what's her name, Nezuko, because you know how like she uses her blood art to like kind of reconnect and attach her bodies and stuff like that. Like made me think of that how he's able to
And-
his powers.
And I believe that's when Desha and his other brothers help out to like almost incarcerate him in the underworld, right?
Well,
'Cause-
we do get the flashback.
Mhm.
So then we get the whole Des flashback, right?
Mhm.
Between Desha, Despa, and Oaken, right?
Mhm.
So Oaken is the third brother.
Mhm.
And basically, Desha, seeing the subjugation of Underworld, took over his dad's mantle. So he basically went at war with his father.
Yeah.
Which also humanizes one of the other guys that broke out, Gigan.
Oh,
The-
the big orc.
Yeah, the big orc, because basically, like, Desha took took some orcs, and it was basically orc camp against orc camp, right?
Mhm.
Like families against families, kind of. But like because there were more orcs on the other side, what Desha's men would do is they would take orc children
Mhm.
and like torture them and
Mhm.
like mutilate them and like cut their limbs off or like cut them open and make
Some
them
fucked up
scream in
shit.
pain so that the other orc camp could freak the fuck out and try to attack their camp while they were prepared and they were just gonna like
Just, like,
murder them
yeah.
with Gigan.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's why Gigan's in prison, because he betrayed King Desha because King Desha's men were mutilating
Being
children
assholes,
and
yeah.
murdering children for the sake of war.
Sacking villages.
Yeah, so Gigan just had enough and just murked the
Lashed
whole
out.
camp one time.
Mhm.
So that's why Gigan's there. These are all like people that have wronged Desha in some way.
Mhm.
He
So
was
like
tried a criminal.
Desha's Desha was also very upset because his father had promised that one of his sons would have the gift of immortality, or I think it was called immortality,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
it was like recuperation or rejuvenation. I think they use the
essentially,
term
yeah.
immortality
Mhm.
in the dub at least. And basically, Oaken in the middle of the war had kind of developed the power to be immortal. Like every time he would get slashed, every time he would get hurt, he would just like regenerate to the point that like he couldn't he like lost his sense of humanity. He lost his sense of self. So like especially with like all the atrocities that they were committing between like murdering orc children and like hurting whole villages, and they're supposed to be the good guys.
Mhm.
So there's a whole scene of them at a camp scene after a war where it's Oaken like crying and freaking the fuck out, like, guys, I can't die anymore and we are hurting people. We are supposed to be the good guys. Like, when did this get this way? And Despa's like, just shut up, bro. And Despa's like, oh, I feel for you, brother, but like we got to do what Big Bro says, and like we're the good guys, I promise.
100% PTSD driven.
Hell yeah.
So
Hell
yeah, exactly. So Oaken basically went like full crazy mode, which is why like when Despa pulls up to the scene, like his whole goal is just to like contain Oaken. He's just like, that's my brother. I know what he's capable of. Like that's my crime, kind of. Like he's my responsibility. Like I did that. If he's crazy and a lunatic and watching people bleed out because he can't bleed out and die anymore, and he feels like some kind of way watching other people get murdered now, like that's my fault.
That's my fault. Yeah.
It's kind of like Karen's watching like the Jeffrey Dahmer show, like on Netflix. How
I
like
heard it's good.
I haven't actually been watching any of it, but like I feel like I have watched half of it just because it's been playing in the background all weekend. Like when Dahmer gets like found out, the dad like has full deniability about it, even though like it's it's a lot of the dad's fault. Like he molested the kid, he taught him taxidermy, which is where he got the idea to like cut people up and cook them and stuff like that. So it reminded me of that a little bit, like that family, like he's my burden kind of thing. But then, so we're getting that fight inside the town at the foot of the castle. Inside the castle courtyard, we get Queen Helen trying to like get to the king, but instead like it's oh god, I keep forgetting the name. Apis holding the mirror with Miranjo in it, and Miranjo ordering like Gigan and the rest of them to attack Dorsha. So Dorsha, again, like he's probably the best character when he's fighting. Like he's just full tank mode. He's just attacking these chimera things again, and he wins. but then he goes against Gigan, who's like the biggest orc. Like he's like King Boss style big. Well, he's not that big, but like
he's big. Yeah.
But he's big. He's the biggest character besides King Boss that we see in this anime. And like Dorsha almost wins, but it's not until like the very last second that like he gets like knocked out. But like I felt bad for him because he would get like his leg chomped off, like you said, and then like the Queen Helen would heal him, and he's like, okay, I'm going back out there, and then he gets his arm cut off, and then it's like, oh, healed. Okay, I'm going back out there, and he gets his eye cut out. Healed. Okay, I'm going back out there. But then you feel for it because like he's Queen Helen's like personal bodyguard, and he's just like, I have to be where the queen is. Like this is a super dangerous moment, so he's not even worried about himself. And the rest of these nights, there's like a female night, and like they're all doing like they're trying to their best to protect Queen Helen, but they're kind of fighting a losing fight.
Yeah.
And it's not until like another change in allegiances that Apis changes his allegiance again. Like at a certain point, like he just can't stand to see like Queen Healing and Dorsha just like
all the shit.
Main.
Yeah, just like watching this terrible stuff happen to him, that he gets into the fight and he starts throwing spears and like but now he's betrayed Lady Miranja. It's just there's a lot going on. I feel like I don't even know where to pick up from right there because like Boji is doing his little rapier thing, and I think he's the first one that gets Gigan down, and they're like, Boji, go down to the basement. Go down to the basement. That's where King Desha is. So Boji kind of like half wins in a fight against King Desha. But the first ones that find King Desha is
Domas and Kokoru, right?
Right. Because they've been training.
Isn't that when Boji comes out? And isn't that when Domas does that stupid ass fucking sacrifice thing where he jumps, bro? He's such an
describe the scene.
Bro. Well, I know Boji comes out and Domas is chilling up there and he was just like, oh my god, for my atonement, like I'm gonna kill myself. And then he just fucking leaps off head first and just fucking donks himself right at the bottom, dude. I was like, I was like, oh fuck, dude, just like literally just killed himself. No, and he just gets up and you're just like, oh, I can't even kill myself, bro. I'm that much of a fucking failure. It's like, yo, this he's goofy, bro. He's so fucking goofy.
And he's supposed to be like the knightly character in the beginning, but he's such like
a stoic guy.
He's just the worst character.
No,
like,
he's so dumb, bro.
And even before that, Gigan was bitten by Boji before he went down into the hole to the underworld, and Gigan tries to fight the king, and that's why we get a sense that King Dosha that he's like super powerful because he has like Thor powers too, where he can like just use electricity and lightning to his advantage. Yeah, and we see a piece. I was heading to the point that you were making that he kind of half wins because he tries to kill Gigan again because he's like, no, I'm gonna incarcerate you again for what you did. Boji like jumps in front of this lightning, like even like magic kind of Harry Potter strike, and like he
it reminded me a lot of like in the prequel Star Wars movies how Jedi can deflect like the
lightning,
the force lightning,
force lightning,
because force lightning's an evil thing, or like how when Mace Windu can like shove it back from his lightsaber. Correct. It reminded me of that kind of.
Correct.
Because it's the exact same scene, like like little ass Boji, big head, tiny body, like rapier conducting the electricity and just kind of like throws it back out at him.
It made me also think of like I said, like Avatar. You know how like they were able to get the lightning in them and they just kind of like redirect that shit, just kind of just kind of do like a quick little body wave and like, right back at you.
And what we didn't think about, what we didn't even mention is that like Boji being such a great guy all the time. All these characters that are having conflicts within the fight, or when they see Boji having a conflict, like they'll have a little flashback of something that we just saw as an audience 2 episodes ago. They'll be like, oh yeah, he did give me that spoon that one time that I didn't have. Or like regular shit that
I am really ugly and stupid, and he helped me.
And he helped me.
Yeah.
My confidence.
He gave me his last apple.
Yeah, like some like mundane, like good guy Boji.
So Boji's like jumping from fight to fight inside of like this castle, and just like making friends and allies like as he's going along. Because like Boji's just like that's like his superpower. He's just this great guy. Like
It's like you just love the kid, man.
Because that's why it's the Ranking
And
King.
then-
Like he
and then
should be the king.
There's a
Yeah, he
sad
should be.
moment where dumbass and and Boji hadn't seen each other yet since the betrayal.
Yeah.
So Boji, like, is again, like this insecurities of that he had gotten through.
He starts getting anxiety.
He
Like
starts, he starts beating the shit out of himself, and like Kage is our audience, tour guide, because he's talking for Boji, and Kage's like, oh my god, it's like he feels
even King Dorsha's like, why is he doing that?
Yeah, he's like,
like
what
why
the
is
fuck?
why is he
Yeah,
beating the
what's-
shit out of himself? What is going on?
Like, this kid's kind of acting kind of weird.
and he's like, it was you stupid bastard. Like, it's because of you that he's doing this. It's like he doesn't believe in himself because of you. It's like he thought you were his friend, and you betrayed him. And then Thomas was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And
I wish
we have,
Boji had killed him.
and we have
I wish so too.
and we have a like Boji's not having it. Like Boji is not written as a like emotionally mature enough to deal with that. So he starts running up the stairs, and it's sad to not see this.
He just runs away from it.
in our main character. You know what I'm saying? It's something that he hasn't fully recovered from.
Mhm.
It's crazy. So he
PTSD.
goes
Well,
up.
I wouldn't either. Like
No, no, no.
and
Yeah,
they
it's
made it seem like
crazy
it's been
because-
like 2-3 weeks since that happened. So it's like, oh no.
But like the effect that it took on him, just because he's so empathetic and so grounded.
he's
like,
bleeding heart.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
bleeding hard. He's spewing.
Yeah. So God, I can't even remember. So
we go up. We
Yeah.
go to the garden,
mhm.
where we have again Pias with
Apis.
Apis.
I keep forgetting his name too. I'm glad you
Apis.
fucked it up too. So basically, it's everybody versus the mirror, but like King Boss inside of King Daida's body is protecting the mirror.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and not just the mirror. We have Oaken there
Oaken
too,
now. Mhm.
who is like
oh my god,
who is completely like losing his shit.
I hate Oaken so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, because then we get
It's so
everybody versus
annoying.
him.
It's because
It's
like
pretty
he's
annoying.
immortal, so like everyone dies to Oaken at least once, and
Once.
it's so annoying.
Yeah,
Like
it's that-
everyone has finally realized that it's Miranjo's fault, and they're all here to kill Miranjo. And then Miranjo still has her one last demon prisoner, who's Oaken, because he can't be
Can
fucking
die.
killed. So like he stabs Despa, almost kills Despa. He stabs Apis, almost kills Apis. He almost kills Dorsha for like the fifth time. The man's died almost like 6 times in 15 minutes.
And then Bebin gets fucking.
Bebin comes
waxed
back
out,
just
yeah.
to get waxed.
Yeah,
real
just real
quick.
quick. He's like, "Yo, I'm back," and I'm dead. Like just instantly.
yeah.
But Oaken is
There's at least 4 episodes of Oaken just being annoying, just
dominating.
being annoying, because it's literally
It's like
starts,
those boss fights where it's just like, oh, I got his health down, I won. It's just like, boop, boop,
And
boop,
then he
boop.
comes
They're-
back and he just recovers. And
It
you're like,
starts.
"Motherfucker."
It starts on episode 17, the Curse of Immortality. Keeps going into the Battle of the Gods. Keeps going into the last Bastion, and it keeps going into the Immortal versus the Invincible, where we get Ida as boss telling Bibin about the story with Marja. Is like, listen, I'm not gonna do this because I cannot protect.
the
One
snake
or the
almost
other.
dies.
Yeah. The
Oh
snake
yeah, because he
fucking dies.
gets fucked
The
up.
the,
gets
the
stabbed.
snake got crushed by
Yeah.
Gigan at 1st.
Mhm.
Yeah, Professor Snape almost dies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's what we said,
Yeah.
Devin. Yeah. It like, but like it's cheat codes because like Queen Healing's there and she just keeps healing everybody.
Yeah.
But then, like, so, like, what Aldo was talking about earlier, like, lining her belt inside of this dorky-ass armor she's wearing in the late round fights is just, like, she's got, like, 5, like, water sacks on her that are just filled with mana potion, I guess. And then even after the last one, when the snake's about to die, out of his fucking pocket dimension mouth, what's his name?
Kage
Kage
puts-
pulls
the
out
shadow
one more
thing,
mana
yeah.
potion. Here, Queen Healing!
No,
Here,
no, doesn't he pull out like a bunch? He's like,
Yeah,
oh
he
yeah,
pulls
I
out
stored
3.
like a
Here-
bunch of these. For
here,
you.
old
yeah.
Biddy.
Yeah, he's like, here, Biddy, you need these.
here, Biddy, take the damn mana
Biddy.
potion. So then, like, it's not until like they have to show the audience that she has out of mana potions and
Mhm.
cannot any
Yeah.
longer.
Mhm.
Like it, and I think like the very last person she tries to heal is Boji.
Mhm.
Yeah, because he gets stabbed, right? I believe he gets stabbed.
Boji and Despa get stabbed at the same time.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And then-
Kage gets fucked up.
And Kage gets
Yeah.
fucked up too. And then they start hallucinating of the river Styx, like in like Roman literature. But it's really Miranjo's subconscious. It's like her
Mhm.
memory. And like the people she's killed, like their memories are also in there. Like she feels guilty about her mother's death, and her mom's consciousness is in there. Boji's mom is in there because the whole reason that Boji's mom got murdered is that Miranjo had made a pack of orcs attack the village so that King Boss could prove himself that he was the strongest. Because just like with Lady Healing, Miranjo sees the women in Boss's life as holding him back. Like the family life is holding him back from being his strongest, which that's his wish. And she is so obsessed with King Boss's obsessive wish that she'll kill anybody that she sees like getting in his way and not letting him live up to his full potential. So then we have
flags.
You think? So then we get that whole conversation of like Miranjo kind of be like, "Oh, I'm doing bad. Oh, but like I'm doing it justly. I've got a reason to do it." Like conversation with like people she's killed like inside of this river Styx, and it's Despa and Boji in the background like watching this conversation happen, and it's Boji like it's Despa explaining to Boji like what's going on, and then they like get sucked out of like the river Styx like purgatory world, and then it's just like Queen Healing, just like she's about to die, she's letting out so much healing magic, she's like I gotta do it, Boji, my son, she starts saying my son,
yeah,
my son, I wanted to fucking ball, bro. I
was like sad.
And not only that, not only that, it's like 5 seconds of quick flashbacks of like having adorable times with Boji and his brother.
Just like that's her
like,
boy, that's her son. Like
crazy.
It's like, bro, this show knows how to pull the fucking heartstrings, dude. You're like, my God, grown ass men crying, dude. It's like,
it's so hard. It's so hard. And then like, so you think Okin's gonna kill them again. But then that's when King Boss just shows up in King Daida's body, and he does that thing that Aldo was talking about earlier. Like King Boss was so strong that he could crush something. Like if he grabbed dirt, like enough carbon, he could crush it into diamonds, because diamonds is just very compressed carbon, right? So like he has shown that he can do that with his giant mallet stick thing. But then he does that with Okin.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like just crushes this immortal black flubber into like his own armor to the point that he can't get out, and then like puts him underneath a giant boulder that he's not strong enough to get out.
He puts him in that shit.
Center.
Yeah, he puts it. He
in
like
the center
punches
of the
a hole in that shit, and he just like stuffs his ass up in there.
And
he does that whole pressing twice. He puts it to gain some time, look for a big ass boulder.
Oh yeah, I was wondering what he was
doing.
He's
like dunk. And he's like, okay, right here. He gets the thing, but he realizes this was like coming together again. He's just like, blah.
I like how they demonstrate how fast he smashes them.
Yeah,
like,
and then gets him again. Yeah, he's just like bam bam in the fucking and the
from the Flintstones, yeah.
Bam, 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 bam. And then like puts him on a ball again, makes a hole in the rock, puts him in the thing, and like compacts smaller rocks in there to make it like
impossible
to get out.
Well, which is crazy because like what Aldo was talking about, we had like 4 episodes of this damn Okin fight just for him to be like, you know, just One Punch Man like in 5 seconds. It feels like a One Punch Man fight as soon as King Boss enters the scene. But
it's funny too because even King Boss, when he was Daida, he was even saying too, he was just like, man, even after, because he doesn't he do a healing effect also?
Oh yeah, he has healing magic too.
Yeah, because he even says too, he's just like, damn, after doing that little healing, I can only muster half of my strength, and and that's when it gives another testament to his wife, where he's like, damn, this bitch has been doing this shit all day, and I'm already tired after just one time. Like, fuck.
He heals everybody in the field, but he kind of gives them the option. He's just like, Miranjo's here to stay. I'm gonna stay in King Daida's body. Does anybody object?
We're gonna
He's
pretend like
like,
none of this happened.
You're all alive. Some of you are missing limbs and eyes, but it's all right.
I'm willing to let this one go, guys.
I'm all right. Are y'all all right?
We'll let bygones be bygones. That's it.
And yeah, he's just like, what side are you gonna be in? And everybody's like, no. It's like, we're with Boji.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
I love that
crazy
scene
maniac.
so much.
And Boji's like, whoa, I got this. He gets in front of his dad, and his dad is like, huh,
Boji?
He's like,
I literally stole your strength.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I like how the dad smiles though. Well, when he's in Daida's body, I like how he smiles because when he sees everybody step up, because he's just like, yo, he's like, my son fucking made it, dude. He's like, hell yeah.
And I don't know if you said this off mic or in mic, but we get like our Attack on Titan
episode.
Yeah.
Oh shit, it's
But-
nice.
Yeah,
but
it's
it's so
nice.
good.
It's nice.
Yeah, because it is a visualization of the fight that is happening, obviously. Because we see almost like the aura of how much of a giant King Boss is compared to his own kid that he stole his energy from. I'm fucking. And that shit got me thinking, is like, how strong would Boji be if he would have been like full size baby? Because he's stronger already than him.
Well, Daida Boss also says that in Daida's body, he can only muster 50% of his strength.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 50% King Boss, number one.
Slash.
No, I think
Boji's
he
strength.
says he can only get 50% because he did that healing shit. And then he was like, after that, he's like, I can only muster 50%. And that's why he gives nod to his wife, because he's like I said, he was like, man, I only did this.
Why? Because he flexed and like broke the shirt he was in, and he was just like, oh, this body's not.
No, because they even remember when Oaken's stabbing him. I think it's Despa makes a point of it. He was just like, yo, all that strength getting compacted in that one small thing. Like, this dude is sturdy as fuck. That's why he wasn't able to stab him like that when he tries to poke him and gets all sliced. That's what I'm saying. So I was like, nah, yeah, I think it's the other way around.
Okay.
Yeah, so we see like this super crazy fight of Boji being like the agile guy that he is, and like running and dodging, and not just that, parrying his dad's attacks. You could hear like a small tink, like when he sees like this.
It is crazy. Like, you're right. It is kind of a metaphor in this fight, because like it's just Prince Daida. Like, they're only like 5 inches like apart, like tall, like lengthwise. But like what Aldo was talking about, like he sees the spirit of his dad, and he imagines the 100-foot tall guy.
Mm-hmm.
So when he starts swinging that club around, like you see parts of the castle like coming apart, and like you don't know if that's actually happening or if like Boji's like imagining that, but like you imagine he's doing it, because like the scene that drives me absolutely crazy, that must have taken forever to animate, is the club the size of like a hallway, like coming across it horizontally, and Boji's jumping between like the broken like block pillars.
Yeah, like as Boji's running against the castle, you see all these windows.
He's like Spider-Man
and then at one point he goes inside the windows and he's in the hallway, and you can see on the back like this humongous club just.
Yeah,
a la Hulk in the MCU.
But yeah, you're right. That reminds me of like the female Titan scenes in Attack on Titan, where she would just swipe her hand and take a bunch of them with her. Mm-hmm. That's what it looks like. Yeah, that's literally what it looks like.
And the reason we talked about it is because of Wit, right?
Yeah. Wit was like, well, if I'm not working on Attack on Titan, I'll do it here.
Same studio.
So they're like, I'll do it.
I just don't know if we talked about it during the mic or not.
I don't think we have talked about it. Wit Studio did the first 3 seasons of Attack on Titan.
Yeah, but since Mappa took over for it, they were like, well, since we can't do it over there, we'll do it over here. Fuck that.
But like you can see that they have experience and stuff like that. So, like it looks so, because like the way Boji wins too is he's just ducking and diving and just like where's he catch him? He catches King Boss like in the chin or something.
Well, he's using non-lethal tactics with him. He's just like almost like what was the slash the Pikachu power or Pikachu move, the dash.
Quick attack?
Yeah, quick attack. It's just like quick attack.
I was
like,
just throwing out attacks.
Like just like a la Fox from Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
And he's just like hitting him, and he's like getting staggered.
I got Dark Souls vibe or like Elden Ring vibes.
Oh yeah,
you know how it's like when you parry like these big ass giant monsters, and you just like quickly little parry that shit.
That's exactly how it feels. Like in Elden Ring, it's like you're fighting General Radahn, like this giant ass fucking dude, and you're just out here being like, God,
like just be able to block it with a tiny little shield. It's funny that his name is Boss, because this was a literal boss fight. Like it's actually had a boss fight. I was like, oh shit, this is sick.
We see Boss's narrative in his head. He's like, how is this happening?
Yeah,
what is going on right now?
He ends up shattering his club, right? Because I believe
Boji.
Boji was able to like basically like explode that shit from the inside. Some fucking a la hockey, but we'll get there later. And then, he was just like, he was able to do that, and that's when I think one of you guys said it, that he I believe he attacks with the pressure point on the king. That's when he's able to like kind of just disable him. That's when the king realized like, oh shit, this guy's.
And then we come back to the scenery of like huge King Boss to actual Daida King Boss and Boji fighting in the courtyard.
Yeah,
you know, and Daida's just trying to get closer to what's her name?
to Miranda.
Miranda.
Miranda trying to be like, no, I need to stay here with you. Is like
In his subconscious, because like for whatever reason, part of Miranjo's conscious and her memories is also inside of King Boss. So that's what he's been seeing this whole time. Whenever we've been getting Miranjo's memories, so like once that pressure point is hit, Daida kind of does the the fucking anime thing, and like he overtakes his dad's like conscious power over his body, and like gets power of the body. And
I think Dorsha gets broken before that happens.
is it?
Yeah, because he cannot gain control of his body until Dorsha gets broken.
Dorsha?
I mean Dorsha.
The bald guy?
No. Until Miranja is broken.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, the mirror.
Yeah, the mirror.
Mhm.
Yeah, because yes, we do see this overarching ending with Miranja inside
Like Daida's consciousness.
Daida's consciousness, where she realizes what she did wrong and why she's doing something wrong.
Mhm.
I can't exactly pinpoint it because also Boss realizes that he can't do anything for her anymore.
Yeah.
So he has to die, not let Daida die.
Yeah.
So Boji approaches the mirror to break it, but then Apis just tries to stop him again, and he's like, and Morsha's like, no, let him do it. And then that's when that happened, and you can see like that two little souls going to heaven.
It reminded me of JoJo's, because that's
Yeah.
how it looks like in JoJo's too.
Yeah.
So then little spirits are floating off. But then
Oh, and that's when the demon comes out.
that's
right?
when the demon comes out, and that's when who makes the deal with the demon that time?
Well,
Is it Daida?
No, the
More-
underground, because Despa and the big fat guard, the golden guard with the horns.
The captain?
Yeah. They I believe they cut the demon's head off in order to make like a no tricks deal. Like they were like, this is a foolproof plan. You grant our wish and we give you your head back, no fucking questions asked.
Right.
And then that's when Daida, I believe, he steps in and he's just like, because Despa's like, I want you to grant my wish, and then that's when Daida steps in. He's like, no, I want you to grant my
Despa was
wish.
gonna ask to heal his brother.
Was gonna be like, I want you to cure Oki, and then that's when Daida steps in. And he's like, no, I want you to save Miranda, like bring back Miranda.
And I
Give her a
think
physical
before that
form, yeah.
happens, we learned that Miranjo has had a deal with this demon.
Oh yeah,
figure.
that's when she
And
splits
like
up
when,
with.
when the two souls go
Mhm.
up to the sky,
Mhm.
that demon appears again once Bosses is dead.
Buku baka.
Yeah. and flies at it and eats the soul, and then we get this super dark souls, fucking dark inferno kind of thing,
Oh, it makes me think
Where-
of exactly
Dante's Inferno.
That's
Or-
literally what it made me think of.
where the demon inside his own collective consciousness, he is tearing apart and putting back together souls of many people that
Yeah,
he's
just
like had
eats
to
them
deal
up
with.
and
He just
throws them
rips
up.
them, and Miranjo and her good self are there.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh well, you made it. Here you go. Good job." It's like now you get to do this for the rest of your life.
Right,
And we get as an audience, you start feeling bad about this antagonist of the entire thing
Yeah.
because now Daida,
Because like
a
she
la
basically
Dragon Ball Z,
Miranjo
Revives it.
basically sold her soul to a devil to
Mhm.
help us.
Mm-hmm. Which is crazy because that's like the way she says too. She's like, you can't break a deal with like a demon. Like you
Yeah.
kind of have to fulfill your end of the bargain at some point, which she did, which sucks. Because even I feel bad for King Boss too, because even Boss is like kind of started crying at that point. He's like, "Fuck, I can't be you can't be the only one to bear that horrible ass burden. Like I bear some of that weight too, which fucking sucks. That sucks."
But then Daida hijacks the wish because
Hijacks.
well, honestly, I kind of hated that part because like so basically Daida switches his loyalty just like everyone else has like 5 times. And Daida now proposes to
That part threw me off.
Miranjo because like he's now fallen in love with her after seeing her traumatic memories in
Mhm.
his own psyche. So that's why like he makes that wish to the demon, and the demon's like Buku Baka, I guess this time I lost, and like you get
Oh, and then he laughs at the demon laughs at Despa and them because he knows that they got screwed over.
yeah.
Because he's like, haha, fuckers. And then he just leaves. He's like, now I have to grant this stupid ass wish and I'm out of here.
And again, like I almost thought that when the wish was brought up that Boji was going to be cured. Like I almost thought that was going to happen for a second.
like he was gonna get his strength back.
Like, they were gonna
like
take that curse off him.
so
Okay.
that's why I was like, what that at first I was like, what the fuck? Like I
Like, what
fucking hate
happened?
Dinah so much.
Yeah.
This is the stupidest thing. But then like I kind of get it. Like he is a kid and like it's kind of not her fault. She was kind of
Mhm.
being manipulated. She's also a kid. Like she was permanently trapped in the psyche of like somebody Daida's age who's like 12 years old.
Mhm.
Like she was permanently trapped in that kind of psyche and was just good at magic.
But I agree though. Like this wish kind of like threw me. It made me think of, I think you were saying earlier, like Dragon Ball Z when what's his name, that fucking pig wished for like panties or some shit like that. Just
Yeah.
stole the wish. I was like,
what's the little the trio of young people, the ones that instead of wishing for immortality, they were like, we want to be young again. I
Oh,
was
you
like,
mean
what?
in Dragon Ball Super?
Yeah, Dragon Ball Super.
Oh,
like,
okay.
Yeah, they're part of they were part of the Ribbon Gang, of the
The Red Ribbon
Ribbons.
Army.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking Dragon Ball is everywhere.
But yeah, like in like Daida makes everyone promise that they're gonna be nice to Miranjo from now on. Now that she's actually reincarnated as an actual little girl and she's not a mirror, and she's gonna be his fiance, and they're gonna live happily ever after.
Which is crazy because like not only did she set the chain of events in motion, she killed Boji's mom. She
Yeah.
tried to kill your mom.
Yeah.
She trapped you in a void. She sent demons and basically took over your kingdom and your castle. And you simped for it. That was kind of I was like, what the fuck? That was crazy. I was like, that was
incel Daida.
yeah. I was like, yo, what the fuck, dude? I was like, you can probably get like a better one.
But then it gets really like after that nonsense, like it gets sweet where like Boji like Daida kneels to Boji.
Mhm.
And then everyone else starts kneeling down, and they're just like,
Hip hip hooray!
yeah. But
that scene was so
they
cool.
like kind of like Daida gives up his crown. He's like, nah, Boji's gonna be the king, and like we get this hip hip hooray. They're bouncing him in the
can I
air.
say that they fucking launched his
Oh, yeah,
ass,
he
bro?
would, like-
I thought it was gonna be just like, yeah, no, above the castle.
He's
I was
in,
like,
like, the
yo, he's still,
stratosphere,
yeah, I was
bro.
like, he's still a fucking kid, dude. Like, Jesus.
And we get this very I wouldn't want to say awkward, but very well paced like ending to the story, because Boji's now off his working. He's just like, oh shit, da da da. But Kage had left.
Mhm.
Kage left again. He's like, no, I'm done, because he doesn't need me anymore, and just like talking really bad about himself. And we feel sad. It's like the show's last opportunity to make you feel sad about Boji hating his work
It's
and
crazy.
not being with Kage.
It's crazy because the show does a complete 180. Because at the beginning, it's Boji that needed a friend, and
Yeah.
at the very end, now it's Kage that needs a friend, and then Boji ends up. Oh man, that was such a wholesome.
Boji shows up with his weird traveling garment.
That
Traveling
made me
cake.
fucking mad. We spent like this whole season for Boji to become king. 30
Throw it
seconds.
away.
30 seconds later, he's like, "Nah, I'm going on an adventure with Kage."
He's like, I'm out this bitch. He's like, I'm gonna go start my
I
own kingdom.
hated that. I didn't like the ending like at all.
Mhm.
I was very disappointed. I hated the Daida ending.
Me too.
I
That was
hated-
weird.
I hated like Boss's whole motivation for the entire anime. I hated Miranjo's motivation. She's just crazy. I hated like that Boji gave up his crown.
Well, season 2's coming up, so we don't know. It hasn't
Like I
ended.
get it. Like if you're a mangaka, you're like, oh fuck, I can't actually end the damn thing. Like I want to write more. I have more story. I have more adventure to tell for Boji. So I get it because it's anime.
One thing I think that needs to happen at the very least to Miranjo is she has to lose a limb, because Doma's cut his hand off. Homeboy Dorsha got fucking an eye taken out and a foot chomped off. Like that bitch got to lose something, bro. Like there's
You
no
really
way.
think they're gonna serve her happily?
I don't know,
think
because
so.
it's like, bro, you did all this crazy shit, and there's no.
I
Your
think so.
punishment is to marry the king, bro. Like she came up with she secured the bag.
Because we hear
Like-
the motivations of the closing episode of that. Boji's like, oh, so you want to do like your dad and make your own kingdom? So I'm assuming he's gonna work himself up to be the ranking king.
That's how they treated it. Yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't want to be given his dad's kingdom.
Wait, so is there a season 2?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
right.
it's
Okay,
been
yeah, it's announced.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
yeah. Oh,
stop
yeah.
yelling at me.
Oh
please.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do like ranking of kings. I was
I
such
love
fantasy.
it.
Watch
I
24
love
episodes, 23
23
episodes.
episodes.
Yeah.
Watch them. If you don't watch them on Crunchyroll, like because they're being assholes. But watch them. Like us on YouTube, on all our social media tags at Between Nerds. Email us at betweennerdspodcast@gmail.com for your thoughts on Ranking Kings, or for your thoughts about this episode. No Nerd Down today. It is a Monday, and we all got to work tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
I
man.
don't. I'm off tomorrow. Actually.
Oh, you're off
I'm
tomorrow?
off tomorrow.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
nice.
I'll suck
Good for you.
Yeah, I know.
Anyways, my name is Drew Philippolis. This is All the Menace. This is our good friend Christopher James CJ. This has been Between
Nerds.
Nerds.